Good evening, everyone. We are going to call the regular City Commission meeting for Monday, May 17th, 2021 to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez.
Present.
Commissioner King.
Here.
Commissioner McCool.
Here.
Commissioner Ramos.
Present.
Commissioner Sosa.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bradford.
Here.
And Mayor Herzberg.
Here. Now, may we please all stand for our invocation. Tonight's invocation will be given by Mr. Nick Pisa. Then we will have the pledge to the flag, and after that, we will have the national anthem sung by 9th grade Trinity student David Castro.
Should we just let it go? There we go. I knew we were going to get that on. Would you bow with me, please? Father, we come before your throne tonight through your Son and our Savior, Jesus Christ. And Lord, your word says, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. And in truth, thy word is truth. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except by me. So we come tonight, Father God, in that very direction to surrender ourselves before you, to empty ourselves, Father God, of our pride, arrogance, and all those things, and especially of our own insight and understanding and wisdom, that we might seek after yours. For after all, your word says that man's greatest wisdom is foolishness to you. So we seek your wisdom above all things. We're invoking your presence in this place right here, right now, bringing your peace into each and every one that's in this room here tonight, Lord God. And each decision that is made here tonight, Father God, we pray upon our commission and upon our mayor and vice mayor, and their decision-making, Lord God, today will be guided by you through your Holy Spirit, that they'll do what is best for the city and for its people. That's why they're there, Lord God, and why you have allowed them to be there. So we send an anointing on each and every one of them tonight, Lord God, and all of the staff that's here tonight as well. Thank you for, God, all those we'll honor here tonight, and thank you for all that will discuss the many issues as well. Give all the glory to you, Father God, as we do this all in Jesus' name, and all God's children said, amen.
Commissioner King, would you like to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming. That our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Out of the park is right. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I'm going to move on to our business meeting. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes and the agenda of the regular commission meeting of January 19th, 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved by Vice Mayor Bradford, seconded by Commissioner Ramos. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to presentations, awards, and reports, and we have quite a few this evening. The first is going to be a proclamation, Florida's Emancipation Day, May 20th, 2021. And who is, you can go down, Vice Mayor, if you'd like.
have Pastor Shine come up. Hold on right there. Okay, Miss Pastor Shine is going to accept this today, which is an awesome honor because she is one of our pastors of the church here in Deltona. So, whereas President Abraham Lincoln issued the official Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, freeing enslaved people in these United States of America to wit, and this is really small writing, so I'm sorry, that on the first day of January in the year of our Lord, 1863, all persons held as slaves within any state or designated part of a state, the people whereof shall then be in a rebellion against the United States, shall be then thenceforward and forever free, and the executive government of the United States, including the military and naval authority thereof, will recognize and maintain the freedom of such persons, and will do no act or acts to repress such persons or any of them in any efforts they may have for their actual freedom. And whereas Union Brigadier General Edward McCook declared the Emancipation Proclamation in effect from the steps of the Knott House in Tallahassee on May 20th, 1865, 11 days after the end of the Civil War, and 2 years after President Abraham Lincoln's proclamation freed those enslaved in southern states. And on that same day, Union Major General Quincy A. Gilmore said an announcement on Special Order Number 63 that the people of the black race are free citizens of the United States. And whereas May 20th marks the anniversary of Emancipation Day in Florida, when slavery became illegal in the state. And whereas the city of Deltona joins the recognition of Emancipation Day with the entire faith community of the city, expressively accentuating the African Methodist Episcopal, which is the first independent Protestant denomination in the United States to be founded by black people. Baptist, non-denominational churches, and other members of the black church family, the several community organizations, including the West Volusia Seminole section of the National Council of Negro Women, NCNW, and the West Volusia branch of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP. And whereas the community respects the humanity of all people, embraces and creates historical relevance for generation to come, promotes unity through local and national events. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, do hereby recognize the actualization of the official 1863 Emancipation Proclamation by proclaiming May 20th, 2021 as Florida's Emancipation Day. And as a community, we will continue to build relationships and bonds to conquer racism and racial inequities. Executed the 17th day of May 2021, Mayor Kay Hirschberg. Let you have a word.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Bradford. And good afternoon to the Mayor, Mayor Harrisburg, and to the members of Deltona City Commission, and to the members of the Deltona community. On behalf of the Senior Bishop, Adam Jefferson Richardson Jr., and Supervisor Richardson, and the many AME churches in Florida and the Bahamas, Mr. Sean King, President of the West Volusia branch of the NAACP, and myself, the Reverend Dr. Caroline Shine, President of the West Volusia Seminole section of the National Council of Negro Women. The black churches throughout Deltona, and to all the members that make up the constituencies of these, I say thank you. This is a very historical moment for the city to recognize the Florida Emancipation and your forthright commitment to unity, racial equity, and historical relevance. As you know, Greater Faith is the first AME church in the city of Deltona, which I am the pastor of, so I'm very honored to be here today. And also as the chair of the Religious Affairs Committee of the NAACP, I'm equally encouraged by the city's commitment to build relationships and bonds to conquer racism and racial inequities. Our Religious Affairs Committee goals are to promote educational programs designed to give moral and ethical interpretation to civil rights struggles, to encourage relationships with all religious faith groups, and to provide religious and social activities. And lastly, as the president of the newly formed West Volusia Seminole section of the Council of Negro Women, I'm equally excited. The national organization is comprised of 300 campus and community-based section, connects more than 2 million women and men, and our section is there to promote unity of all women and all women's matters affecting educational, cultural, economic, and social and civic life. Our special emphasis is on education and science, technology, engineering, and math, and we encourage entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and economic stability, sound public policy. And lastly, I would like to personally thank Mayor Harrisburg for joining us, the National Council of Negro Women, when we started in 2020 with our first project on air pollution awareness, and your attendance at our blessing ceremonies in 2020. So Mayor Bradford and the city, thank you very much for this proclamation.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next up, we have a proclamation for Emergency Medical Services Week, which is May 16th through the 21st.
I'd like to go ahead and do this proclamation. It's my honor to be able to do this tonight for our fire department. The proclamation, whereas emergency medical services is vital public service, and whereas the members of the emergency medical service teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and whereas access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate for those who experience sudden illness or injury, and whereas emergency medical services has grown to fill the gap by providing important out-of-hospital care, including prevention medicine, follow-up care, and access to telemedicine, and whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. And whereas the members of the emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And whereas it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of the emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and the Commission of the City of Deltona, Florida, in recognition of this event, do hereby proclaim the week of May 16th through the 21st, 2021 as Emergency Medical Services Week, with the theme, "This is EMS, Caring for Our Communities," and we encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. Executed the 17th day of May, 2021. Mayor Heidi Harrisburg.
I'd just like to say real quick that these men and women behind me and all the ones here in the city of Deltona, they provide an outstanding service when it comes to EMS and fire. The firefighter paramedics and firefighter EMTs that we have are are educated, skilled, and very compassionate people when they go out there and provide this service. So I can't tell you how proud I am of these people and the job that they do. And I'd just like to say thank you to them and to the rest of our fire service people that couldn't be here tonight. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, and up next, we have another proclamation for National Police Week. Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to start with the proclamation, National Police/Sheriff's Week. Whereas there are approximately 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. And whereas National Police Week is a time for all Americans to pause and reflect on the incredible sacrifices these heroes make for us every day. And whereas some 60,000 assaults against law enforcement officers are reported each year, resulting in approximately 16,000 injuries. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1791, almost 20,000 law enforcement officers in the United States made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including 5 members of the Volusia County Sheriff's Office since 1895. Sheriff Jefferson Kurtz, Deputy William Kremer, Deputy Charles Kurtz, Chief Deputy William Edwards, Deputy Stephen Sabota, and K-9 Forrest. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, which was dedicated in 1991 in Washington, D.C. And whereas in 2021, the names of 394 officers killed in the line of duty were added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. These 394 officers included 295, 182 fatalities are COVID-19 related. Officers who were killed during 2020, plus 99 officers who died in previous years, but whose stories of sacrifice had been lost to history until now. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will honor during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 32nd Annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13, 2021, as part of National Police Week, which takes place this year from May 9th through the 15th. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half-staff. And whereas members of the Volusia County Sheriff's Office presently provide essential public safety services to the residents, business owners, and visitors of the city of Deltona. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Commission of Deltona, Florida, do here proclaim the week of May 9th through May 15, 2021 as National Police/Sheriff's Week in the city of Deltona, and ask the entire community to join us in publicly saluting the services of law enforcement officers in our community and in communities across the nation by taking the time during the week of May 9th through the 15th to thank the 5 members of the Sheriff's Office for their service in our community, executed this 17th day of May 2021. Heidi Hertzberg, Mayor. And I am honored to present this to the Deltona Captain Marino. And if you would introduce your staff here.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you all for the opportunity to allow us to have the privilege and honor to serve and protect the community of Deltona. We sincerely do appreciate that. I also would be remiss in not mentioning my cohorts here. We've got Lieutenant Kurt Schups. He's one of the assistant commanders here in Deltona, and we have Deputy Petoskey. She's one of our Deltona Traffic Enforcement Unit deputies. Among them and many others, we have really good men and women here that understand the concept of servanthood, and it truly is an absolute honor to work with the men and women that comprise the District 4 Deltona Volusia Sheriff's Office District. They're men and women of integrity, very much passionate about serving the community and also providing the services that we provide to each and every resident of the city of Deltona. So thank you all so much. We are appreciative.
Thank you. Okay, up next, we have the fiscal year 2019-2020 annual audit presentation. It's the comprehensive annual financial report for the year that ended September 30th, 2020. Hello, welcome.
Flip this around real quick. All right, I think you can hear now. So, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity, Mayor and Commissioners. It's an honor to be here during an evening of recognition of unity and recognizing the men and women who serve the community. So it was an honor to be here for that portion of the meeting. My name is Tim Westgate, and Lori Walker is here with me. We are two members of the audit team, and as was mentioned, this is for the audit results of the year ended September 30th, 2020. A little bit about Purvis Gray. To put it in context, Purvis Gray, we're proudly celebrating this year our 75th anniversary as a firm. We primarily work in the governmental and nonprofit industry beginning in the late 40s, starting with electric utility industry. We have, in our audit side of the firm, we have about 50 individuals who are dedicated to governmental audits, including audits of 25 municipalities, 6 Florida counties, 9 school districts, and many other special districts and nonprofit entities. We're also members of the BDO Alliance. BDO is an international CPA firm, and if you included the BDO Independent Alliance members like ourselves and BDO itself, it would be the 5th largest accounting service provider in the world. I mention that to put a little bit of context of who your auditors are and the qualifications behind our audit. Tonight's presentation, again, is to present the results of our audit that's presented in the comprehensive annual financial report. I know you've had a little bit of time to review, so we're primarily here to touch on those results and mainly an opportunity for any questions that you may have. Please feel free to jump in at any time or a few moments at the end of the presentation, which I promise we're not going to read the whole thing, and we will try to keep it short. Before getting into the particular details, I want to, of course, mention that this was the period that the COVID pandemic affected everyone throughout our communities. But despite the COVID pandemic, due to the efforts of the city, the audit was not delayed. There were no material weaknesses, significant deficiencies. Ooh, okay.
Well, he has no.
All right, now that we know everyone is okay, which I'm glad for that. The audit was able to be completed timely. No material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, so no disruption in your financial reporting process. And very importantly, the city was able to maintain its financial health because of the efforts of the commission and management. This comprehensive annual financial report meets your reporting requirements that fall under Florida statutes, the rules of the Auditor General, as well as the requirements under secondary bond markets, your bondholders, your direct lenders like the Florida DEP loans, your federal and state granting agencies, along with submission to the Government Finance Officers Association to apply for the Certificate of Achievement of Excellence in Financial Reporting. That program encourages and assists states and local governments to go beyond the minimum requirements of generally accepted accounting principles to not just prepare annual financial reports, but to prepare the comprehensive annual financial report, which goes above and beyond the minimum requirements in a spirit of transparency and full disclosure, and includes a lot of additional information. The city was awarded that certificate of achievement for their 2019 report, and we anticipate this 2020 report will also earn that certificate again. So I'd like to recognize that. Page 1, not that you need to flip through, page 1 in there is the independent auditor's report, and that is the main part that you're looking for from your auditors. That talks about management is responsible for the financial statements, management is responsible for internal control. We as your auditors, you're looking for the audit opinion from us. We're pleased to report we were able to issue an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion, highest level of assurance you can receive in an audit for the results of the audit. So we commend the city in achieving that. A few financial highlights that we talk about each year when we review. The general fund of the city, of course, is the city's main operating fund. It did have an increase in fund balance during the year, and we've noted that most every year of the past 10 years, the city has been able to increase fund balance. Over the years, we've discussed the importance of that fund balance as needed just to meet your normal cash flows, planning for future projects, future capital projects, or situations like hurricanes or global pandemics, which until last year never even got considered. Included in that increase in fund balance that you had during the year was about the $3.3 million that the city received from the CARES Act funding. That was able to support the city in that regard. And we are anticipating that the receipt of the American Recovery Program, the ARP program, I always do it by short, the ARP program will additionally aid the city in being able to deal with and face any long-term consequences of the pandemic. And so we encourage those efforts continue and commend you in what you've done. The Water and Sewer Fund also was able to increase their fund balance and maintains a positive working capital, which are important indicators that are measured for meeting current obligations of the utility fund, cash flow demands for operations, as well as planning for future projects. Some of the last components, reports near the end of the package. As part of performing an audit under government auditing standards, we look at internal control and compliance for things that, in designing our audit, for things that would have a material impact on your financial statement. And we would report to you items that rise to the level of material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or non-compliance with grants, rules, laws, regulations that would have a material impact on your financial statement. We're pleased that you can flip to all those black pages, but there are none of those items that ended up being uncovered or reported during the audit process. So we're, again, commending the city with that. Part of the audit does have a federal and state single audit, and those are related to the grant funds that are received by the city. And of course, those always come with a lot of additional strings attached, and one of those is particular audit requirements over those compliance with the funding that you received. Again, no findings of non-compliance and internal control in that regard. So overall, a very good report, and we appreciate all the efforts of the city. We do want to thank city staff, particularly finance, who has to put up with us the most when we come in demanding, show us this, show us that. We always get very good cooperation and are very appreciative. So with that, I'll conclude the presentation and invite any questions or comments that you may have.
Commissioners, any questions or comments? Seeing none? Nope. Nope. Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. We appreciate you as always. Thank you for the comprehensive report.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to ordinances and public hearings. We have none of those on the agenda tonight. So we have old business, item number 7. 7A is a request for approval of the compensation study and implementation of pay adjustments for the rank and file employees. That's you, Mr. Peters.
I'll try not to have a dramatic event with this. As part of the firefighter collective bargaining agreement, the city was responsible for having a compensation study done for the firefighters. It was actually supposed to have been done by October of 2020. The initial study was deemed inadequate, and we went back out and obtained the firm Archer Group. We also included the rank and file employees so that we could make sure that their pay was appropriate. As we have had several workshops, I'm not going to belabor the point, other than to point out that what we found was a significant number of our employees were not even at the minimum. And this is critical because, with the new state requirement of the minimum wage of $15 an hour is fast approaching. And the other thing we found is that there were a lot of long-term employees, whether working here or elsewhere in a similar position, who were not even at the midpoint. And so what we have before you tonight is we have a detailed list of all the employees, what it would take to get them to the beginning point for a brand new employee and to the midpoint with 7 years experience or more. The people at the midpoint above would not be adjusted. So with that, the total cost of making this retroactive to October 1, similar to what the fire department collective bargaining would receive, is approximately $445,623.92 for the year. That is broken down by $269,119.75 in the general fund, $189.42 in the solid waste fund, $36,359.73 in the stormwater fund, and $129,955.03 in the water and sewer fund. To Dr. Cooper's credit, he had set aside approximately $600,000 for this adjustment in the general fund. The amount needed in the solid waste fund is available. The stormwater fund and the water and sewer fund, the money is available because of the number of vacancies that we have had already this year. So the money is available in the salary line to cover the cost. So we're recommending that we proceed with the compensation adjustment roll back to October 1 as outlined in this report.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, John, you mentioned that this is pending the vacancies. Do we have what the number will be when vacancies are filled?
Can you ask that one more time?
So so now going forward, this puts everybody up to date. So when vacancies are filled, what would be the ongoing addition to the fund? Because obviously that's going to be forever.
We have adequate funding for the balance of the year to cover all this.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sosa?
Hello.
And then Commissioner McCool.
Just for clarification, this is only for the City of Deltona employees and does not include the fireman study, correct?
Correct. In the report, we still need to meet with the firefighters union to go over theirs. The recommendation from Ms. Archer, I believe, were 14 or something like that an hour base pay. Susan Helberg made the adjustments for years of service. We have a proposal for the firefighters that we will meet with them. Once that is hammered out, I will let you all know. As I indicated before, the way the collective bargaining is, I have the authority to make those changes, which I'm not comfortable with. So I will be reporting back to you all what that is and what the dollar amount is. But I think the early number is we're looking at about $120,000, $150,000 to make all the adjustments for the firefighter if they agree to the numbers that we have.
And just this, for this 445,000, that's not for every employee in the city. That's just for employees that are not at the minimum yet or that are long-term employees that are not at the midpoint, correct?
It would be minimum as a base point, and 7 years would get you to the midpoint and prorate it up to that point. And if you have more than 7 years and you're not at the midpoint, you would go to the midpoint.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner McCool, before you speak, can you, Vice Mayor and Commissioner Sosa, can you take yourselves off the board, please, or thank you. Commissioner McCool, welcome.
Hi. Thank you for that. And I just wanted to find out what the timeline is for getting this implemented and how that funding or how that payout will work to get the employees up. Are we do one check? Or are we integrating it? How are we going to and how quickly can we get that integrated?
Did you hear? Could you repeat that again, ma'am? Oh.
Is it going to be in one check, or is it going to be over a time period?
That's a finance department question. Normally, I would expect that they would get a lump sum check to catch them up to now, and then for the balance of the year, it would be an amount in addition to their current paycheck for the balance of the year.
And how quickly, and does that apply to all of the employees at that, or is there, I mean, do we have any probationary employees that would not apply to, or is it apply immediately? And how, like I said, how quickly?
It will apply to any employee that currently is anywhere between the beginning point and the midpoint, depending on their years of service. Anybody that is currently over the midpoint, there should not be an adjustment.
But I think she was asking whether or not it includes employees on probation. In other words, if you just got hired and you're still on probation, do you get the bump as well?
This should include employees on probation because their pay should be adjusted up to the minimum.
And also, how quickly will this be implemented should this pass tonight?
I'm not going to speak for the finance department. This is going to be very extensive work. I would expect that it probably, my personal opinion, probably be sometime in June before they can do this catch-up check.
Okay. Is that good, Commissioner?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Avila Vasquez?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to make okay. I move to authorize the acting city manager to implement the salary adjustment as outlined in the attached spreadsheet retroactive to the 1st of October 2020, and further authorize the acting city manager to correct any Scrivener's errors.
Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner Ramos. Do we have any members of the public that wanted to speak on this? Is anyone filled out?
Madam Mayor, no.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the public comment portion for this, and may we vote, please?
Okay, we're going to need to do a roll call vote, please.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and do an alphabetical roll call vote then.
Okay, so Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? Yes. Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Herzberg?
Yes. This motion passes 7-0. Then we'll go to item number 8 is new business. Item number 8A is request for approval of the revision of the current City of Deltona Economic Incentives Program. Mr. Jerry Mays.
Madam Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, Commission, good evening. Every so often, a city gathers together to look over and review and refresh policy, codes, ordinances, and programs, and that's what we're meeting here tonight to do. When the city adopted the incentive program in 2017, there were certain examples that were in that initial incentive program. Some of these, well, in truth, all the examples have at this point become redundant. They have played their part, they are no longer needed, and they tend to muddy the water of negotiations on people trying to understand, site selectors, developers, what the incentive program is actually saying. With your permission, I'll go through the items with you this evening. First item is page 1, item 1, paragraph 2, changing a couple words. Change the reimburse the ad valorem is changed to reimburse of ad valorem, differentiating between reimbursing the ad valorem or negotiating to part of the ad valorem. In truth, should you approve Section 2 of this, the redaction of the phraseology over a 5-year period, in other words, year 1 through 3, 100%, year 4 through 5, 50%. This was an example that was put in. It was always intended to be an example. When someone saw this who was in a negotiating position, they simply said, okay, that's what I want. Well, you have to understand that's an example. No, that's what I want. Okay, so let's take that example out. Let's move on down to the next example. Page 1, item 1, under B, under the primary target industry section, redact the example. In case, example, Volusia County average wage of $33,000 times 1.5 equals 4, and on and on and on. It's stated in the introduction of that paragraph what it is. This example is redundant. It is not accurate because it is not up to date. That's why it says it'll have to be what is current then. Well, it already states that. So stating again as an example serves no purpose. Fourth item, page 2, item 2, paragraph 4. Delete the example. Example, graph 1, the average wages are 115 to 200% and on and on and on. It's already explained in the body of the incentive program what it is. An example simply drags it on further and it's no longer current. It was not current, unfortunately, the day it was probably put in, but it was the example of what we had at that time. Keep in mind, this was 2017. We were putting the very first incentives out that the city of Deltona had ever had. So we did the best we could at that time. If there's blame to be put on it, I'll take it because I came up with these. Example 5. Reduction of the case study page in its entirety. In other words, simply take that out. It's a case study. It no longer serves a useful purpose. Now, there are options. Of course, we can continue to use the current City of Deltona's incentive programs. They've worked in the past. We've used them. Or we can look at changing it to the proposed. The positive side, that the old program, which is in fact the current program, was wide-reaching. The negative is the current program allows the city minimal negotiation and flexibility. And the city does need the ability to have some back and forth with anybody who comes before us, a site selector, developer, et cetera, so that we have a true negotiation. The revisions to the program will allow the city to meet and negotiate toward a more equitable position for all parties. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jerry. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Mr. Mays? Commissioner Sosa?
I've got a couple. Is this the whole incentive package?
The one that was put in for, yes, it is, with the
Okay.
redaction out of it.
All right, because, you know, some of the concerns I have is giving away 100% of ad valorem tax reimbursements. And in here, it doesn't really tell me what criteria needs to be met. And, you know, that's for fiscal years 1, 2, 3, and then for fiscal years 4, 5, it's 50%. I myself personally don't mind giving some incentives. Do I think we need to give that much? Probably not. Yeah, I think that might be a discussion for the commission at a future date. But also for the ad valorem taxed impact fee reimbursement incentives, that does not include residential. However, we're going to use high density, which is apartments. So basically, if an apartment complex comes in, which we have some on the way, they're entitled to all these reimbursements, correct? The ad valorem reimbursements?
Okay, Commissioner Sosa, you addressed 2 points, if I may address both of them. Number one, I've asked for the 100% years 1 through 3 and the 50% years 4 and 5 to be taken out of.
That's going to be taken out of?
Taken out of.
Okay.
That was item number 2 or 3 on the list. In regards to the high-density apartments, non-owner occupied, the city has looked at these in the same fashion as commercial simply because you cannot homestead a non-owner occupied residential dwelling. It is a rental. As a rental with no homestead, you get the same taxes off of that as you do Amazon or any other commercial building in Deltona based on square footage. So we, as staff, had been ordered previously by the commission to go forth and bring in high-density apartments, non-owner occupied. Staff was fulfilling the wishes of the commission, and those wishes were reflected in the incentive package.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how everybody else feels up here, but I don't think we should be incentivizing, you know, apartment buildings. If somebody wants to bring an apartment, that's actually a commodity right now. I don't think it needs an incentive. And as far as when we're going to take out the 100% for fiscal years 1, 2, 3 and the 50% for fiscal years 4, 5, what are you actually going to replace that with? What is your cap on that? Or is the negotiation open from 0 to 100?
The negotiation is open from 0 to 100. Should the commission want to change that, then by all means.
Okay.
It has to be approved by the commission. Keeping in mind, in looking at the incentive package as it was passed, as it was been revised twice by the commission, everything on the incentive package, and I will quote as soon as I turn to it, okay, everything is approved by the commission. All incentive packages must come before the commission for approval. All incentive packages approved by the commission are on performance-based. We don't cut a check ahead of time. We make an agreement. This is part of the negotiation. We make an agreement with whomever we're going to make the agreement with, normally those who end up paying the taxes on the building and hiring the workforce. The agreement is they will pay the taxes, and if they meet the agreement of the incentive package that was approved by the commission, then the city finance department, upon approval of the commission on that action, will refund them whatever portion was agreed to. Should they fail to meet the criteria, the commission can, should they decide, pay part of it, all of it, or none of it. It's all up to the 7 of you.
So as you bring
may-
a case by case, it will be approved case by case.
Every case is approved case by case. We do not have a blanket approval.
Okay.
Again, Commissioner, it's all approved by you and you and you. The commission setting has to approve every incentive package. Staff negotiates, commission approves.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I can speak up here. The key thing we were trying to accomplish with these changes is we do not want to create a level of expectation. We want to be negotiable. Mr. Sosa, with regard to the apartments, if we had a 50-unit apartment complex at $50,000 apiece, that's $2.5 million in value, we're probably not going to be offering much in the way of incentives, if any. But on the other hand, if you had a 600-unit apartment complex at $50,000 apiece, that's $30 million. That's a significant amount of value that would go toward Avalon. That may be something we want to incentivize. But the way we're writing this is it's all negotiable. You know, a 600-unit high-quality apartment complex is going to have a lot more Avalon value than a $600-unit low-value apartment complex would. So, you know, to get a higher quality, we may incentivize it because it will result in higher tax revenue. But the key to this is we have a concept, but no hard examples. Because, you know, we are getting people who use the Amazon model of expecting 3 years of 100% and 2 years of 50. No, that was a one-time thing. And this emphasizes that. We look at each project, the quality of it, you know, how much they pay, everything is part of the mix. And so we just wanted to have it where there's more room for negotiation and there's no expectation.
You good, Commissioner? Okay, Vice Mayor and then Commissioner Ramos.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I understand exactly why we did this in 2017, and, you know, I think it actually helped all of us understand it, but it did what it was meant to do at that time. I don't think we expected it to be as great as it did by bringing Amazon in. So my question is right now I know we have, excuse me, a few other potential businesses coming in. Are any of them going to be grandfathered in on this, or we're okay at this point? Like, I don't have any companies out there expecting, hey, we're going to get that, right?
Madam Vice Mayor, thank you. At this point, we have not initiated any negotiations with any future companies at this time.
Thank you. And if we did extend this over to an apartment, does apartment complex, they also pay sales tax as well, correct?
A which complex, ma'am?
So if this went to a residential apartment complex or duplex, do they not pay sales tax as well? So to incentivize, I mean, to me, we really, when they're paying taxes, they're not just paying our property tax, but if I'm not mistaken, when you're paying rent on those apartments, aren't they also paying, I mean, it's been a long time since I paid rent. They're paying sales tax, right? Thank you. So to me, that's more than just one type of tax bringing in when we bring these apartments in. And we have been trying to get apartments and condos in there for many, many years. And personally, do we feel that we would have gotten some of the companies already? I don't think we would have. I think that was a big draw in bringing them. So, you know, I'm for this change. I think it is a good change and gives us a lot more leeway to do some negotiations. So I'm really glad to see that you're taken out. Do you also know of any of our neighboring cities, what incentive packages that they would be offering?
Madam Vice Mayor, I am familiar with the incentive packages offered by DeBerry, Sanford, Orange City, and DeLand. All of them offer a variation of ad valorem tax reimbursement, with the city of DeLand having already passed the resolution to where they can waive taxes paid then from city funds to whatever fund, state, et cetera, it needs to be paid to. All of them have a in-form, some type of commercial. At this point, I have not heard that any of those cities have any ad valorem incentive plan regarding high-density, non-owner occupied facilities, apartments, nor have we paid any incentives toward apartments at this point, nor are we in negotiation for that.
Thank you.
Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe is pretty much removing these expectations to give our city a clean slate to be able to negotiate. So I'm ready to make a motion. I move to approve and adopt the revised economic development incentive program known as the Deltona Incentive Program. This motion entails the replacing of all previous city incentive plans. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections, descriptive errors, and the like.
Second.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford. Do we have any members of the public that signed up to speak on this?
Madam Mayor, we have one public comment. Albert Bryant, please.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. You know, everybody should know that I was a very outspoken person when it came to giving a multi-billion-dollar company like Amazon incentives that basically gave them free property taxes for a year. So to me, I have to admit, after speaking with Mr. Mays, that I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with this. I think that our staff, our acting city manager, and Mr. Mays should be able to negotiate. I think there should be an open plate for him to negotiate on. Now, that being said, I think that incentives only help so much. If a company wants to come, the company's going to come, period, full stop. If a company doesn't want to come, they're not coming. You're not going to change it no matter what you do as far as incentives are concerned. Now, helping them out, you know, that's fine. You can give a little handout here and there with it. That's okay. What worries me is, and I was assured that this isn't the case, is that it doesn't come before y'all. Mr. Mays assures me that everything that they negotiate has to come through y'all. I think that's a big plus with this. That way you got 7 minds thinking about this. At least 7 minds. So I think that taking out all these examples, which should have never been in there in the first place, as far as I'm concerned, when you say you're giving away the house to pay for the land, it makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. Put a yes vote towards this and let them have a free reign to negotiate.
Thank you, sir. That closes the public comment portion of the meeting. We have a motion and a second on this item. May we vote, please? Commissioner McCool, did you want to speak? I didn't see your hand waving. You're good?
I'm afraid that guy is using though.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay, may we vote, please? Roll call vote, yes. Make every vote tonight a roll call vote, please.
Okay, Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 7-0, and now we'll move on to the next item. Item B is a consideration of request from Tanya Russell for a reduction of the fine from $20,000 assessed pursuant to the special magistrate case DEL-17-134. Who's taking this one?
Mr. Lovett is here this evening. He was here to answer any questions you may have regarding this request. This was a property, they had a $20,000 fine. They went back to the magistrate. The magistrate recommended a reduction to $500. This is a situation where obviously it was a long time violation. my understanding, it was primarily due to the spouse as opposed to the current owner. And so this is part of the reason they're coming to you. Richard, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, most of the issues we had was with the spouse. They are no longer together, and as of 2018, when they did split up, going back through the history since 2018, we've had 2 calls there. Both of them were unjustified calls. One was for items placed in the front yard. There were solar panels that they were getting put on the house. And the other one was for parking, which was a solar company there working on the house. So all the issues that we had in the past was with the spouse. We did deal mostly with the spouse. I was out there with the officer dealing with them. We did have one interaction with her when we were out there, and she corrected that violation immediately. So that's why it was consideration to give her a break on this, because we felt that when we did deal with her, she did everything to correct it. And I think that he was not making sure that she was getting everything she was working and he was at home all the time.
Okay, Commissioners, do you have any comments on this? Any questions? Commissioner Sosa and Vice Mayor Bradford.
Okay. You know, I actually got a couple emails earlier today, and I've been kind of reading through them regarding the special magistrate proceedings, and I'm looking at the meetings from 2012 where they approved by consent agenda to appoint Charles Sino as a special magistrate at an hourly rate of $175 for a 1-year appointment. And then again, in 2013, that came before the commission again to approve by consent agenda to appoint Charles Sino as special magistrate at an hourly rate of $175 for 1-year appointment. Now, between the years 2013 and 2018, there were no records indicating that Charles Sino was a special magistrate. Now, this is from our city clerk. After research in the below public records request, staff has inquired and is not aware of any contract for special magistrate Charles Sino for the years 2012 to 2018, and there are no resolutions for special magistrate Charles Sino's for years 2012 to 2018. However, the attached, which is the ones I just read, were for 2012 and 2013. So if this occurred in 2017, I personally feel there should be no fines levied against Ms. Russell at all.
When did the person come in front of the special magistrate? When was the special magistrate hearing?
July 26, 2017.
That was, and there's been no other special magistrate hearing since then?
No, none since then.
So who decided to go ahead and reduce the sum down to $500?
We decided that was a decision just to make.
Who's we?
Staff.
Vice Mayor? Are you done, Commissioner Sosa? I'm sorry. Were you finished?
For now, yes.
Okay.
Okay, now I'm confused, because it says April 28, 2021, Tanya Russell appeared before the special magistrate.
Exactly. On our,
All right,
no, on April,
so-
that's why I was asking, when was the last time?
So,
Paragraph on the background on April 28th, 2021. So,
I mean, I'm aside from this, here's where I'm at. I feel for you, I really, really do. And to hear that you've done everything, I don't know, maybe it's just me, you know, you did come up, you made the corrections, you did what you were supposed to do, aside from having a spouse that probably held you back. So this is a tough one, you know, because I know how that verbal abuse can be. And not that I'm throwing anything out there, I don't know. I'm assuming if you wanted to do it, but he didn't. I'm just making an assumption here. I guess part of me is wanting to say as long as she stays into a compliance and we don't have any more issues with it. However, if we have further issues, then she would be held responsible to pay the fine. But if she stays compliant, I have no problem with waiving the penalty.
Can we get a clarification on why that states this in our background material?
It's number 9, Mr. Levitt, in the packet. It says finding of facts, and then it says number 9. April 20th, 2021, Tanya Russell appeared before the special magistrate for a recommendation
Page
for
1
a
of 2,
reduction
right
of
there.
fine.
And I had nothing in my notes that said that she ever appeared. There was nothing in
magically-
any case notes or anything like that stating from the hearing clerk that she was at any of the meetings.
So who magically put that in our agenda notes? Because ma'am, I'm assuming did you attend a special magistrate meeting?
I came last month.
On April 28th, 2021? So you were in front of the special magistrate on April 28th, 2021, and the special magistrate decided that the fine should be reduced down to $500? Yes.
Hi, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I was at that magistrate meeting, so I can attest that she was there. The special magistrate and staff that was there did recommend the charges get dropped to $500
Could you
instead of the
state your
full.
name for the record, please?
I'm Caitlin Foster. I am the internet video producer, so I was there recording the special magistrate meeting.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So,
Sorry about that, your mayor. I thought you were talking about it in 2017 when we originally did it, not in 2021.
no, I was
Sorry about that.
asking, the question was when, because Commissioner Sosa brought the 2017 up, I said, so when was the last time she appeared at the magistrate? Because in 2017, there was no reduction of fines, correct?
No, at 2017, that's when they started the fine and they capped it at
Okay.
20,000.
But Mayor, there's also, number 8 says, March 16th, received request for recommendation to reduce fine for Tanya with a payment of $100 non-refundable required for the request. So she paid that to put
Yes.
in that request? So
They
she paid
paid that
$100, so
$100
they're
to go
actually
before.
asking for $100 plus another $500.
So,
May I make a motion?
no, I have a question, then you can make your motion. I'm well familiar with this address. It's been an eyesore for years, years and years and years. It's been an eyesore. Trailers in the front yard. Someone in the neighborhood emailed me about that multiple times, sent pictures in 2017 about how bad everything was there. Maybe Mr. Peters or Mr. Lovett can answer the question. Currently, and maybe this is nothing, but why is there red tape over all the electrical boxes and everything on the outside of the house that you can see from the road? There's red tape over there's a red box, there's red tape over the panel and everything. What does that mean?
I have no clue why there would be.
I've never seen red tape.
Ma'am, do you know?
Are you able to?
Okay. The only thing I can say right now is that I just had my roof replaced and I've had solar panels installed. But I don't know anything of any red tape.
It's all over, because I drove by to take a look at it, and it's all, your power has there's red tape over every one of those
Not that I have
meters and
seen.
everything outside. Maybe it's from the roof then, maybe it was a cautionary thing, I don't know.
I don't recall there being anything there. In fact, I can have my son, if you want, to take a picture right now.
I took a picture.
Okay. For 313 Fisher Drive?
Absolutely, yes, ma'am. Because it stuck out when you drive down Fisher, and your house is a light-colored house, and the red tape on those things. I've never seen that before, and I drove around other houses to see, and I've never seen that. That was just my question. Maybe it's just something that I have no idea. But,
The only
Madam
thing I
Mayor.
could think of would
Yes.
be for the solar panels.
I think the main tape that you saw was on the disconnect box, and that is associated with the solar panels.
Okay.
So I think it has something to do with the solar panels, to differentiate between the solar panels and the irradiance.
okay, thank you. Because realistically, in the past, we've had plenty of people come up here and ask to have their fines reduced to sell their home.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to sell.
But I mean, I'm just saying that's multiple times we've been asked to reduce fines so that there's no lien on the house, so the house can be sold. So,
No, I'm not interested in that at all.
Commissioner Sosa?
You know, based on the emails I've got and looking at the agenda minutes, to me, the magistrate Sino, he was in office years 2012, 2013, and after that, there was never a resolution to continue him as a magistrate from 2014, 15, 16, 17. So this issue occurred, whether it was a mess out in front or not, I don't think it has any pertinence here if we can't prove that John Cena, or, what's his name?
Madam Mayor.
Magistrate Sino has the authority to levy these fines. I think that is an issue we need to look at as, you know, aside from, you know, what the property may have looked like.
Mr. Peters?
Yes, ma'am. I am aware of certain allegations made in the community with regard to the magistrate situation. We are reviewing that as part of our overall code review, and we will be reporting back to the commission at a point in the future where we will outline precisely what happened during that time period.
Okay, Commissioner Vasquez?
So my question to this is, do we continue with this case? Mr. Peters or to attorney?
It might depend on what you intend to do. If you intend to go along with Mr. Sosa's suggestion that you wipe it out, then might as well do it right now. If you want to reduce it to the 500, then that would have to be contingent on a confirmation that there was the initial authority with the special magistrate. So one or the other, but one you can do, the other, it's going to take some time.
Okay, in that case, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Go ahead.
I hereby move to grant the request of Tanya Russell. I don't know how we have to change this, depending on the outcome of Mr. Peters' search with the magistrate's contract for a reduction of fine regarding case number DEL-17-134 for the property located at 313 Fisher Drive, Deltona, Florida, to the sum of $500. The fine is to be paid within 30 days from today, May 17, 2021, or the fine will revert back to the original amount. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Okay, a motion is on the floor. Is there a second?
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Madam Mayor, I would just like to remind us that we are setting precedents here no matter what we do. So I would just like for us to think about that for any future or pending code enforcement / magistrate cases. What we do right now, I would remind us, is going to set precedents as to how we have to handle other cases. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, ma'am. There's no second. The motion dies for lack of a second. Commissioner Sosa, you are on the board again, but normally we have 2 times of comments. Did you have something that you
Well, I'm going
wanted
to make a motion. I mean, based on the information I received today and reviewed regarding our special magistrate, I hereby move to grant the request of Tanya Russell for a reduction of fine regarding case number DEL-17-134 for the property located at 313 Fisher Drive, Deltona, Florida, to the sum of $0. The fine is to be paid within 30 days from today, May 17th, or the fine will revert back to the original amount. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections and scriveners, so I don't think there should be a fine imposed at all.
Is there a motion properly made by Commissioner Sosa, seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford? Is there anyone, first of all, I have, Commissioner King, you took yourself off? Okay. And Commissioner Sosa and Vice Mayor, you're both still on there. Could you remove? Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone from the public that signed up to speak on this?
Madam Mayor, we have 2 public comments. Albert Bryant in residence 1776, please.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. There's 2 things about this I have really puzzled me about this whole thing. One, the gentleman here just came up and said every time he went out to the house, they corrected the problem. If they corrected the problem, then why are they fined? Now, I'm using his words because if I remember right, he stood here and said that they corrected the problems. So if you correct the problems, why is there a fine? That's one thing. Two, I noticed when I went back to the minutes on the magistrate, there was really nothing there except for the fact that it said the magistrate reduces the sum. So I'm not sure what I'm supposed to take from that other than the fact that the magistrate on a whim decided he wanted to change something. Now, that's kind of puzzling as well, because if a magistrate is taking it upon himself just to change something on a whim without giving any kind of written explanation for the record, isn't there a problem with that? I mean, a major problem? If you are correcting a fine, you should give an explanation. There's no explanation at all in the record, none whatsoever. I looked twice on my phone to make sure. Y'all supplied the record, not me. Just saying. The other thing, I'm wondering if she actually had an issue and didn't correct it for any amount of time, Mr. Sosa, I'm sorry, you're wrong. She should have at least a $50 fine. I don't know about whether any of the contracts were proper or not. Don't care. But by reducing the fine to zip, you really are setting a precedent. That's if there's actually paperwork showing that she did something wrong. I see nothing in the record on the magistrate where he referred to any issue at all. Any, nothing, zip, zero. And he says, oh, well, we'll just reduce the $20,000 fine to $500. Why? Why? There's no explanation. Doesn't that bother any of y'all? That you got a special magistrate that is just doing something on a whim without putting anything on the record? Why do you think I stand here every Monday night? To get this put on the record. So I can come back and say, I said this to you. Here, you want me to prove it? If I go back and look at the minutes, it's an open, empty slate. That's not good, is it? That's not good at all. The other thing is, y'all better think real hard, real fast about this special magistrate if this is what he's doing. Because I'll tell you what, you need to have your contract brought before you. When was the last time we had a contract brought before us about the special manager? Oh, that's right. He wasn't even manager back then, was he? It was Jane Shang. Makes you wonder.
Resident 1776, please.
I agree 100% with Mr. Sosa's assessment. I'm the one who did that research. This is a matter of law, not a matter of feelings, a matter of law. You guys, not you guys, but when in 2004, when they decided to go to the special magistrate, when they moved away from the board, the very first motion was for 1 year, and it would be done by continuing resolution. That was done through 2013. I'm the one who provided that documentation that I got from the clerk. There's no record beyond 2013 until 2018. Now, in 2018, you guys decided to remove Sino and replace him with Mr. Reichman. In January of 2019, Madam Mayor, you signed the motion, you signed the order that this commission voted on for 1 year, and it would be then done by continuing resolution. Jane Shang then went behind your back and gave him a contract for 2 years with a third-year option, which I believe Mr. Peters has unlawfully executed that option. Matter of law. And I will also point out, the Florida Constitution Article 1, Section 17. Excessive fines, cruel and unusual punishment, attainder, forfeiture of estate, indefinite imprisonment, and unreasonable detention of witnesses are forbidden. Excessive fines are forbidden. Now, I'd like to move on to Section 22, trial by jury. The right of a trial by jury shall be secure to all and remain inviolate. The qualification and the number of jurors, not fewer than 6, shall be fixed by law. Now, we can also go into due process. I've recorded over a dozen special magistrate meetings. In not one of those recordings will you find the special magistrate ever tell the person they have a right to counsel. Nor will you ever hear them tell them that they have a right to a trial by jury, which the Florida Constitution, there are no abstracts. There has been no change. And in Florida, we change our Constitution on a whim. You know, we changed the Constitution by vote for crazy things. This has never been changed. I am right now looking at the most recent version from the Florida Senate. Trial by jury, never been changed. There are no abstracts. There is nothing in here. Now, there are statutes. You get a speeding ticket. You get a trial by jury? You do if you fight for it. But you have to fight for it. Why? Because when you get your driver's license, they believe that you are giving away that right, that you are signing away that right. You cannot sign away a right, matter of law. If you demand a trial by jury, they have to give you one. And it happens all the time. People just don't know about it. He was invalid in 2017. He had no authority. This commission failed to comply with their own rules. Now, you're asking someone else to comply, but this commission did not comply. So there are consequences when you don't comply, are there not? You must reduce it to 0.
Madam Mayor, I apologize. We have one more public comment. Richard Bellick, please.
Mr. King, do you remember?
Address the chair, please, sir.
Oh, you're starting already.
That's right,
hey,
I am.
How are you there?
Proper procedure.
Yeah,
you know
read
the
this,
rules.
what your residents gave me?
I saw your T-shirt.
They're sick of you. Mr. King, you remember in 2017, I said, how could you find people when a guy wasn't authorized to do it? And you had Nabich and the little Neanderthal and all of them people here.
Mr. Bellich, there will be no personal attacks on any members of the commission.
There's nobody in the commission there. Hey, there's nobody up there. There is nobody up there that I'm talking about. So don't start. And don't pull your crap neither, because I talked to my lawyer about you, and he's ready to file papers with you for me asking a question and you having the police escort me out. He said that you wanted to provoke trouble. He knows that I'm a hothead, and he said that's what you wanted. You wanted to provoke trouble. I said, no, Heidi Herzberg ain't that low. She's a little lower. Now, anyway, the poor woman here is having a hard time in life, and you people sit up. Oh, Ms. Vasquez, do you remember the motion you just made?
Mr. Bellich.
Does Ms. Vasquez remember the motion she just made? I bet not. But anyway, the woman's having a hard time. What are you doing here? What are you doing? You're set, maybe you lost your payday for the 189 homes or something? Let the woman go. Be a person. Heidi, you're just surprising. You really are. You just, there ain't even words for you.
That closes the public comment portion of this item. Mr. Lovett? A question was raised that, and I should ask whoever was the clerk that day, was there any process by which the special magistrate decided to reduce the fine?
The special magistrate went off the recommendation of staff.
So staff recommended the reduction in fine. And, okay.
Sorry. Staff
And-
recommended the recommendation, and Ms. Russell.
And to be clear, Mr. Lovett, you said recently when there were violations that were called in on this address, she corrected them.
Correct.
So because the question came up in public comment, were there violations prior that were corrected immediately?
There were violations in the past that were corrected immediately, but this one was not corrected. That's why it was taken to the special magistrate and fined.
So there were violations that were not corrected in the past, and that is why it went to the special magistrate?
Correct.
And fines were
not.
assessed? Okay, just to be clear. Okay. Commissioners, any other questions? There is a motion on the floor and a second for reduction of the fine to 0. No more questions? May we vote, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Motion passes 7-0. I would suggest to staff, Mr. Peters, Mr. Fowler, that you bring us no more of these cases until the special magistrate situation is explained and a legal opinion is brought forth with what about Mr. Sino's contract, and I expect an update on Mr. Reichman's contract before any more of these come before this commission for any reduction in fines or anything else. Thank you.
We have already discussed that, ma'am.
I'm sorry?
I said Mr. Fowler and I have already discussed that.
Okay. Okay, item C is request for approval of resolution number 2021-23 and execution of state revolving loan agreement with the Alexander Avenue Reclaimed Water Augmentation Project, also known as the Lake Monroe Project Phase 4B. Mr. Peters.
Yes, ma'am. We previously did this resolution, but the dollar amount has changed, so we need to update the resolution for the state so that we can finalize the state revolving loan.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions from the commission about this item? If not, we need a motion. Vice Mayor?
I move to approve resolution number 2021-23 and authorize the acting city manager to execute the loan agreement and any other documents required by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection to complete the loan process for state revolving funds. The acting city manager has the authority to make correction to Scrivener errors and the like.
Second.
Okay, Vice Mayor made the motion, and it was seconded by Commissioner Avila Vasquez. Are there any members of the public that signed up for this?
Madam Mayor, there are no people.
Then that closes the public comment portion of this. May we vote on this resolution, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool? Commissioner McCool?
Yes, I'm sorry, it would not.
Commissioner
Yes.
Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. Now we move to item D, request for approval to purchase time and attendance software at the cost of $63,235 to be utilized citywide. Mr. Peters.
Yes, ma'am. The city spends a tremendous amount of time filling out individual timesheets by each employee, having them reviewed by the supervisor, forwarded to the finance department, and then hand inputted into our Munis software so that we can pay people. It is a extremely labor-intensive process. If you were to add up the total number of hours and just an average salary, it is a ridiculous amount of money. This particular software has a very high upfront cost because of the equipment. It has an annual maintenance fee with everything with Munis, but no, that's besides the point. But what we have determined is that the savings in time is well worth the expenditure on this particular item, and we're recommending that we proceed with purchasing it. This is a bio system. I believe it will be fingerprint. So you literally put your fingers on the machine. It would say what date and what time you entered, what date and time you left, and then when you came back and when you left. So there's no arguments about whether Billy Bob came in at 8:05 or 8:20. It'll be based on when he touched the machine. So it's just better all the way around.
Okay, thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Wow, great. I mean, I'm all for this because this is going to eliminate a lot more than staff trying to accumulate things. It's going to also, I think, save the city probably thousands of dollars. Most companies that do go to the software actually end up having major savings. So I don't know if there's anybody else, but I'll go ahead and make a motion if nobody else has any comments.
No one else is on the board.
I hereby move to approve the purchase time and attendance software at a cost of $63,235 to utilize citywide. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of Scrivener's errors and the like.
Second.
Properly moved by Vice Mayor Bradford, seconded by Commissioner Sosa. Is there any member of the public that wanted to speak on this?
No, Madam Mayor.
That closes the public comment portion for this item. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Villa-Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? Yes. Commissioner McCool?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 7-0. We move on now to item E. Request for approval to replace 3 2012 John Deere mowers, SW-1204, SW-1205, SW-1515 at a total cost of $65,909.28, which equates to $21,319.76 each. Mr. Peters.
This is for the purchase of 3 obviously very expensive mowers. The reason I didn't put it on the consent agenda is I was absolutely certain somebody would want to pull it as to the price of these mowers. But these mowers are consistent with the ones that we use in the city. They have a longer life expectancy. Given the volume of mowing that we do, we have to have a heavy-duty piece of equipment. And so that is why we're bringing it forward to you for the purchase.
Okay, any comments from the commission? If not, we need a motion. Seeing as we have no comments and no
I'll go
motion.
ahead. I hereby move to approve the purchase. I hereby move to grant approval to replace 3 2012 John Deere mowers, SW-1204, SW-1205, SW-1515, a total cost of $65,909.28, $21,319.76 each for the Stormwater Division. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections in Scrivener's errors and the like.
Motion made by Commissioner Sosa, properly seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford. Is there anyone from the general public that has expressed interest in this?
No, Madam Mayor.
I'd like to.
Yes, ma'am.
Brandy White, Deltona. I think you're correct. This should be pulled and tabled. I'm a little confused why we're discussing buying 3 mowers for the Stormwater Division when later in your packet, if you want to keep flipping, you're going to be possibly approving a landscaping company to do the stormwater. So why do we need mowers? You're about to contract that job out. So we don't need mowers, unless you don't plan on approving the contract. But I think this should be tabled because there is already an item on here regarding stormwater and contracting for mowing. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Peters, please address.
Yes, ma'am. We have both in-house mowing that we perform, and we also have contract work. For instance, portions of Howland are, part of it is done by Public Works, part's done by contract, and part is by the Parks and Recreation. The Stormwater Division takes care of a lot of retention ponds, but then there's other retention ponds that are more difficult. And so for a liability reason, we rely on a landscape company to provide that service.
Okay, thank you, sir. That closes the public comment portion for this item. We have a motion and a second. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool? Oh, excuse me, Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Did you want to go back?
Commissioner McCool?
I'm back. I'm so sorry.
Commissioner McCool?
What's your vote?
Yes, I'm back.
Okay, the motion passes 7-0. We'll move on to the next item. Item F is a request for approval of resolution number 2021-24, legislation in progress, moratorium for residential or mixed-use planned unit development, section 110-319 of the Land Development Code, rezoning request involving residential detached dwelling unit projects. Mr. Paradise?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think Mr. Peters would like to speak.
Yes, ma'am. Madam Mayor, given the recent lawsuit, as we learned on Saturday at the advice of the city attorney, it is becoming very difficult for us to have discussions with regard to this matter, changing the code and the like without potentially adversely impacting the lawsuit. So it's my recommendation that we table this matter.
Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And speaking to Mr. Peters earlier, I believe that the right thing for us to do is to table this. So I make a motion to table item F.
There's a motion to table by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by, it was Commissioner King. Table motion, correct me, Mr. City Attorney. We vote immediately on the motion to table this item, correct? Okay. May we vote, please, on the tabling?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
No.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
No.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 5-2. So for tabling. Item G, consideration of appointment or reappointment of 7 members and 4 alternate members to the Economic Development Advisory Board. Commissioners, in the past, we look at the members, it seems they all wish to be reappointed. And the alternates also have expressed that they would like to be reappointed.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If I can interject at this point, we do have members who want to be reappointed. We have alternates that want to be reappointed. But we have an underlying problem. In the last year, and Mr. Mays can correct me if I'm wrong, we've only been able to handle 1 meeting because we lack a quorum. Last Friday, we were scheduled for a meeting. We were unable to achieve a quorum. And so the question really becomes, do we want to retain the EDAC board because of our inability to conduct meetings? Staff is spending time preparing for such meetings, and then we don't have a quorum. And so the question becomes really, do we want to continue with this?
So let me be clear. You have 7 members, Mr. Mays, and 4 alternates. It's 11 people, and you're having a problem with a quorum. Am I correct in that assumption?
Madam Mayor, yes. There are 7 selected, commission-selected members and 4 alternates selected at general from the city, so a total of 11 members. November, December, we were not able to meet because we could not get a quorum. In January, we met with 7 members. In February, we met with 4 members. March, April, and May, we could not gain a quorum.
It's problematic because the amount of staff time and just to create an agenda and have staff there is problematic if there's no, if you met actually only one time with a quorum since November.
No, ma'am, we have met truthfully 2 times, but in one meeting we had 7 out of 11 attending. It takes 4 to make a quorum because we do not count the alternates among the 7, but
Okay.
they can help make a quorum. But in February, we had 4 members. We did have a 5th member who came in 30 minutes late. But we had 4 members, and having 4 members out of 11 does not constitute a workable committee meeting.
What is your comment on that, Jerry? Or do you agree with the assessment of Mr. Peters?
DDAB has served an excellent function in the past for the city. But since this recent downturn, DDAB has become a true drain on staff. And this is the administrative assistants who have to prepare all the information, give it to me. I had to prepare the package, clean the room, have everything set up, and then we find out more or less the same day as the meeting that we will not have a quorum, and then we have to send it out to everyone that we don't have a meeting that day. I tend to try and do this as early as possible so that we don't have members show up for the meeting and there is no meeting, because we cannot discuss DDAB business unless a meeting is in session. I agree with City Manager Peters.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. I have 3 commissioners on the board here. Commissioner Ramos? Yes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess first of all, it's always a challenge to get volunteers to these committees. So we have a group of folks that want to be reappointed. I guess also my question then becomes, can it be a time of scheduling of the day, Friday, 3:30? I mean, can that be something that while folks want to participate is also discouraging?
That day and that time has been in place for 4, 5 years.
No.
I understand your question, Commissioner, I truly do. It's always a possibility we could look at a different time, a different day, but I'm not getting any feedback from the DDAB members that this is the issue. It's just that I'm busy, I can't make it. Truthfully, many of them do have legitimate excuses for being absent, but it's getting down to the point that there are 8 of them that are absent on a regular basis. And it's not always the same 8. It fluctuates around. It's just that it's not working right now.
So, question then. According to the bylaws then of that committee, isn't there an attendance requirement that if they don't meet certain requirements, then they're off the
Commissioner, you are absolutely right. If they do not make a certain number of meetings, either excused or and unexcused, they will be removed from DDAB. As it stands, however, if there is no quorum, there is no meeting. So they are not counted absent. There simply is no meeting. Thus, out of the last, 7 months, we've met twice. And as I stated, one meeting was a total of 4 members present.
But the purpose, but I guess if they're not attending and you're not having a meeting because you don't have a quorum, then that should go against their attendance, I'm thinking.
In the bylaws, it does not address that. The bylaws simply state if you miss a meeting, you're absent, either excused or unexcused, whatever the total is. It does not address the issue of if we don't have a meeting. If you don't have a meeting, how do you count somebody as an excused or unexcused absence? There's simply no meeting, so it's never counted against them. Yes, it may be a fallacy.
Vice Mayor?
Nailed it. So I get what you're saying. Okay, so we were going through this, I think, with P&Z, wasn't it P&Z, Ron, when you said, let's make some changes to the rules and the guidelines, and, you know, as much as it's a waste of certain people's time to come together and have that meeting, we might have to have these meetings and say absent, 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 off, 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 off. You know, so in the beginning, it may be a waste of time, and I totally understand your logic of, I don't want to make somebody drive over here if we're not going to have a meeting, but if that's the case, we're going to have to hold meetings, or we're going to have to change that. I believe some of the changes that were made, I'm pretty sure it was the P&Zs, that it's made the meetings more effective. And I don't know, Ron, you correct me if it hasn't benefited and helped, but you know, if there's individuals that are causing you to not have those meetings, is there anything else in those bylaws that state somebody can make a decision to remove them, or you can make a recommendation to the commission to replace them?
No, ma'am.
So do we need to put something in there that states that under the recommendation of, I don't know, to me, there's just got to be something. Either we're going to have to hold meetings and say absent, 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 you're off, 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 or we're going to have to give authority to somebody to say, listen, I've had to cancel 4 meetings because you were absent. Please resign, or, you know, do whatever. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. We do have one individual in front of us, I mean, but what does giving you one other alternate do other than another alternate? I guess we're at our limit for alternates, right? And members, unless is there any one of our current members, not to make you throw them out, but that have not been able to respond to attend to a meeting in the last year to 6 months? 6 months, say, to a year.
How about a percentage instead of names?
Right, percentage. Well, I mean, we've got to kind of, I hate to say it, but you got to kind of weed out these people that are on this board. If they're not going to attend, they're not going to show up, and they're going to cause this to happen, then they need to be removed from the board.
I cannot address the question without having my files in front of me as to whether or not there is a particular 1, 2, or other members of DDAP. What you are suggesting, I believe, is a potential rewrite of the bylaws to address this issue.
Yes, sir. I agree. So,
Madam Mayor, can I suggest that we table this until the next meeting so we can get more information? One of the concerns I have, and part of the reason I brought up the question to begin with, it goes back to Mr. Ramos's, Commissioner Ramos's question, which is, you know, if they're missing meetings, you know, and you miss so many of them, you need to realize that when we can't get a quorum, let's say you get 3 people that say they'll be there. That means there's 8 people
Exactly.
that would have missed the meeting. And so you probably would only have at best 2 or 3 people now who qualify to sit on the board because they missed enough, you know, they failed to attend a potential meeting. And so I think it's a slippery slope if we go that route. I think what we need to do is have Mr. Mays reach out to each one, have a conversation. You know, are the hours inappropriate? Is the day of the week inappropriate? If there's something that would make it easier for you to attend, because obviously they have an interest. They've said they want to be on it. So I would recommend we table this till the next meeting to give Mr. Mays a chance to talk to each individual person and poll them as to whether there's something we can do to change this to make it more palatable to them.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Vice Mayor, are you done? You're on the board?
Was Dana, were you waving
I
at
have
us,
2
or
more.
you-
I have Commissioner Sosa and Commissioner King that wanted to weigh in on that. And Dana, did you want to, Commissioner McCool, did you want to weigh in on that as well? Thumbs up?
No, ma'am, I was just for cabling. Yeah.
I think she's okay with
She's okay with tabling. Okay, Commissioner Sosa?
Yeah, I have to agree with Commissioner Ramos. If they're not here and they're causing us not to have a meeting, that should be an absence, because you're not making a quorum. And also, if we have, I think this is where we need more information, like Mr. Peters said, which people on the board are not showing up consistently. Because if we have 4 showing up, we've got a list of 5 other applicants that are willing to take that spot. So, I mean, if we have 5 applicants plus 4 that are regularly committed, that's 9 people right there. So I think it's something, maybe you need to look at maybe times and see if those folks are really dedicated to participating in the board. And if not, we got 5 other applicants we can choose from.
Commissioner King?
Commissioner Sosa, I wish I'd have gone first, because that way I wouldn't have to repeat what you said. I go to a lot of meetings, and if nobody believes that, just ask my wife. If you have a meeting, it's a meeting. The date, time, and place constitutes the meeting, not who shows up to the meeting. And if you only have 4 people showing up and you don't have a quorum, you have a meeting that you can't do business at because people are absent. So you mark the people who are present, and you mark the people absent who are absent, and you say, we can't do business today because we don't have a quorum. That constitutes a meeting that you just couldn't do business at. Personally, I want to see the list of the last year of the people who are consistently not showing up. Because as Commissioner Sosa said, we have people that are waiting to get on this committee. I would remove everyone that starting with the person who's got the most time off to the least one, I would remove them and replace them with other people and keep this committee moving forward. That's what I would do. I would also change, you don't have to rewrite the whole Constitution, you just have to say, just change that portion that says, if you're not here so many meetings based on time, date, and place, not on who shows up, then you're absent, and move forward. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Yes. Just Commissioner Vasquez, did you want to weigh in, and then we'll be done, Commissioners?
Do we have to make a motion to table this so we can get our consensus?
Let Jerry speak, and then we can go ahead and make your motion.
I simply wanted to address Commissioner King's statements. DDAB is commission appointed. Thus, they are under the same regulation, sunshine law, as the commission. It's been indicated to me, I am not an attorney. I would leave that up to our legal department and up to the city clerk's office for that advice. But it has been indicated to me that if there is no quorum, there simply is no meeting. And that's what I have used to address this issue at this time. That's all I have, so I cannot move forward with it, as you suggested.
Thank you, Mr. Mays. Commissioner Avila Vasquez.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we need a motion or just a consensus from all the commissioners to table this?
There's a motion on the floor to table. Is there a second?
Oh, there is?
No, you. I just did. Yeah.
Okay.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay, motion made to table by Commissioner Avila Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner Ramos. Is there anyone in the public that wanted to speak to this?
No, Madam Mayor. Clarification, is that a motion to table till the next meeting?
Time certain?
Time certain, next meeting?
Is that enough time for Jerry to contact everyone and get the information?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Please amend your motion to the next meeting, time certain, please.
Yes, motion to the next meeting to table this.
Commissioner Ramos, are you okay with, okay, we've tabled to time certain for the next commission meeting. Is there any member of the public that wanted to speak on this? Yes, sir.
Richard Bellick, please.
I'm wondering, you think any of the wives are keeping their husbands away from City Hall on purpose because of a lurker? Somebody, you know, that they don't want their husbands to be around? Is that possible? Why the shortage is there? That's all I got to say.
That closes the public comment portion of the meeting of this item, and may we vote, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? Yes. Commissioner McCool?
Did we lose Commissioner McCool because she's no longer on the screen?
Yes, they lost internet on the island.
Oh, bummer.
Okay, so we're going to go without that then.
Okay, Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 6-0 to table to the next meeting. Okay, we move on to item H, consideration of an appointment or reappointment of 7 members to the William S. Harvey Deltona Scholarship Advisory Board. So commissioners, excuse me, all 7 members have expressed that they wish to be reappointed to this board. Obviously, we seem to have a quorum for this board, and they are active. So, Commissioner Ramos, sorry.
Madam Mayor, being the fact that all 7 members wants to be reappointed, can we just make a motion to accept reappointment of all 7 of them?
You can make that motion and see if you get a second.
Okay. I so move a motion to reappoint all 7 members to the William S. Harvey Deltona Scholarship Advisory Board.
Second.
Okay, and we have a motion on the floor and a second to reappoint the 7 members. I would suggest for the record that those names be read into the record, those 7 members that are currently on there. Can you amend your motion to read those in there, sir?
Sure, will do. Hold on now.
It should be.
I make a motion to reappoint all 7 members to the William Harvey Deltona Scholarship Advisory Board: Lori Burbank, Walter Dawson, Sandra Dillard, Steve Lightbody, Ruben Medina, Harry Meeks, Christina Raimundo.
And
second.
I'm sorry to do this to you again, Commissioner Ramos, but can you please make that, add in there that all these terms will expire on May 31st, 2023.
With term expiration of May 31st, 2023.
Good with that, Commissioner? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Is there anyone from the public that wanted to speak on that?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. We'll close the public comment portion of this item. May we vote, please, for reappointment of all the members?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner McCool?
She's lost internet.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Yes.
Bradford, and Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 6-0 for reappointment of all 7 current members. We move now to item I, request approval of a settlement agreement with the Deltona Professional Firefighters IAFF Local 2913 on behalf of Stan Daly. Mr. Peters?
Yes, ma'am. Dan Daly was a member of the City Fire Department up until March of 2020, actually the 19th. For the record, he was terminated for allowing his certification to lapse without getting it renewed. He worked a shift without the proper certification, which put the city at risk, and the county medical director. Subsequent to the termination, the union chose to grieve the termination. The matter was debated and negotiated for quite some time until about November, December of 2020. The only remaining item was getting some information from the pension as to the pension impact of the settlement agreement. So what we have here is a settlement agreement that the city agreed to withdraw the termination and reinstate Daly for full-time employment. The city agreed to pay Daly a weekly salary of $100 for 52 weeks, $5,200, and the city will pay the qualified amount to Mr. Daly's required pension, which is about $1,491.10. Mr. Daly will contribute a portion of his pension contribution to receive credited service for the 1-year period from 19 March 2020 to 20 March 2021, $416. Further, Mr. Daly agrees to resign and retire from the City of Deltona Fire Department at the conclusion of the pay period that includes March 21, and the union agrees to withdraw its grievance filed challenging Mr. Daly's termination.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioners, any questions on this settlement agreement? No questions? Then we need a motion, either for or against approval or denial of this agreement. Vice Mayor?
I move to approve the settlement agreement with the Deltona Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 2913, on behalf of Stan Daly. Upon approval of this item, the acting city manager is authorized to make corrections to Scribner's errors.
Okay, properly moved by Vice Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Ramos. Are there any members of the public that signed up to speak on this?
No, Madam Mayor.
Brandy White, Deltona. Again, no questions. Man, how many times do you guys approve things without questioning anything? So let me get this straight, because I just checked my bank, and I don't know if I can afford to keep putting out deals like this. So let me get this straight. He's been gone for a year. You guys are going to fake reinstate him for a year, pay him, and then let him retire because he failed to do something? I just want to make sure I have the right, because when I checked with my certifications, if I don't do them and I get fired, my job is not going to reinstate me, pay me for what I did wrong and all this. Who does that? Who pays somebody for their failure to do their job? Oh, that's right, the city of Deltona does. Constantly. You did the same damn thing with Jane Shang. Let me pay you to resign. My pocketbook is dry. It's called accountability. If they fail to do something that calls their termination, that is their problem, not my pockets. But again and again and again, there's not one question that comes up as to why we would do this. Because he filed a grievance for his own inept ability to keep his certifications? Get the hell out of here.
That closes the public comment portion of this. Mr. Peters, care to address?
Yes, ma'am. I would be happy to. In this particular case, the union contract called for arbitration in a grievance, and the arbitration is mandated. Whatever the decision is, we have to abide by it. Mr. Daly has a health condition that we have become aware of, and the concern is that if we go to arbitration, we could have a much higher financial exposure than what this agreement entails. And so therefore, that is the reason this is being brought forward, is to reduce our liability.
In lieu of arbitration?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. May we vote, please, on this motion is to approve the settlement agreement.
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
No.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
No.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Motion passes 4-2. Okay, now we will go on to the public forum.
Okay, Madam Mayor, we have 6 public speakers. Richard Bellick, please, Jennifer Chastain, and Michael Potowski.
I thought we were going to talk about that RPUD, 189 homes in Osteen tonight, about how you're going to pay for a lawyer to fight that lawsuit. And then you got Brandy White's lawsuit. Next, you're going to have mine. And I mean, I'd like to find out how many lawsuits are actually against the city of Deltona, somehow, some way, somewhere, sometime. Is that possible?
Is that a records request, Mr. Bellick?
Excuse me?
Is that a records request?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I'd also like to go in a little further here, and I'd like to pay special tribute to Pat Northey, Janet Diet, Valerie Vadney, 3 women of Deltona, stand-up women who are for the residents. Now, ladies, you 3 I just mentioned, we're not afforded that because the ladies on our commission vote against the residents time after time after time. So to see you people here is really a breath of fresh air because with the 3 we got, the residents never win. Now, who is the commissioner where CVS at the corner of El Cam and Howland Boulevard is? One of our gateways for our tourists to get in. Why don't you just go down there and look at that dirty, filthy, scummy wall? Why don't you take a walk down there, Heidi? Huh? Oh, Heidi, one other thing. I'm having litigation against you pretty soon. I just want to know one thing. I looked in the public records. You had a lien on your house for a fence. Has that lien been cleared up? I mean, I want to know. If I take you to court, I want to get something. I don't want somebody to come and say, oh, we got a lien against Heidi. Is it been cleared up? Yes or no? You can nod your head. Now, you've been laughed at so many times in Volusia County. I mean, you know, come on, let's face it. I mean, this is the laughing stock of Volusia County. You smell raw sewage, you drink bad water, you got bad roads, you got many, many drug addicts. There's drugs all over Deltona. But you just sit here time after time after time. Not you, Mr. Sosa. You've not been here too long. And Dana, she ain't listening. She ain't been here long either. But, I mean, all of these things, you got a woman here, you want to crucify a poor woman. Oh, we don't want to let the fine go. Oh, the only reason you let the fine go because you knew you were put on the spot and you knew how cheap you would look. Now, let's get back to the 189 homes that over 100 people didn't want. You've had so many people speak against it. Don't do this to the people. Don't ruin their lives. You know what I think he is, don't you? Huh? My opinion, you're getting paid. The developer gave you a few bucks, and he's going to give you a few bucks more when it's done. That's my opinion, and I'll die with my opinion. And I think you're nothing but sellouts and cheap people that you might maybe you have sex when you hurt the residents. Good night, Mr. Peters.
Thank you. Jennifer Chastain, please.
Jennifer Chastain, District 6. So I did want to say thank you to our emergency personnel, especially our deputies that are out there in harm's way, especially when the police are in such great danger around this country. So I just wanted to say thank you. I listened to part of the commission's gathering on the strategic meeting on the weekend, and I heard a lot about framework and about how we have to focus on what we have. And I don't disagree with that, but I think it's important that you not ignore what we don't have. And part of acknowledging what we have is a lot of issues. That's not to say that everything in the city is bad, but we can't stick our head in the sand, and frankly, that's what we've been doing for 25 plus years. We like to tout that we used to have fireworks. We like to tout that we used to have an Easter egg hunt. We like to tout these gatherings and festivities, but we don't like to talk about some of the things that Mr. Belich talks about that everybody thinks he's crazy for, but really there's a lot of truth to what he says. Water is a very high sticking point. That's just one of them. So while I think it is important to focus on what we have, I did hear Commissioner King say about the amphitheater, and I think it's important to acknowledge that we have a variety of different interests within this city. So I was actually having a conversation with one of my friends today, and we were talking about birthday celebrations, and she was talking about this lavish get-together they threw for her mother when she was 50, and they all got gussied up, they wore long gowns, they did all this stuff, and I made mention of, I went to a sports bar and I had on jeans and a t-shirt, and my friend said, but that's you. So Commissioner King, I'm an amphitheater kind of girl. I'm not so much a center kind of girl because there's not really anything at the center that it offers to me. Which brings me to another comment I heard in that meeting, which is that we had to spend the money and we had to hurry up and spend the money because it was left due to the Council on Aging from somebody who died, and we had to revamp it, and that's why the whole situation morphed from what it was supposed to be, what we were told it was going to be, and what it is not. I heard Commissioner Sosa talk about things such as parks and a community pool, and honestly, I will tell you that the idea of a community pool, I was like, whoa, my ears perked right up. I don't want anybody to try to tell me we have a community pool in town at the YMCA because that's not a community pool. You have to join, you have to be a member. If you do not join the Y, you still have to pay a fee to be able to use the pool. And if we had a community pool, you could charge and you could sell season passes to residents, and they could go, they could have a card, they could gain entry. That's something that the city could actually use. I don't know how many people in the city have a pool. I don't personally have one. I don't even have an inflatable pool. But a community pool would be a nice thing, and the Y is not it. Recently, there was a write-up in the Daytona Beach News Journal about too much development and about potential caps on impact fees. There's been much discussion about how these impact fees really do not help sustain us in the long run. It's that one-time fee. So I'm just kind of curious if this cap comes in, how we're going to help, because we continue to approve. We tear down all the trees. We boast about being ecotourism, and yet all we do is tear up the ecosystem. So we're going to have to think about what we're going to do for our infrastructure if there's a cap on these impact fees, which again is not sustaining us for the long haul. Thank you.
Michael Potowski, please.
Hello, Mayor and Commissioners. Michael Potowski. I live here in Deltona. I'm here before you tonight to let you know of an incident that happened to me and my family a couple weeks ago, which I am rather 38 hot about. On 4/25, late in the evening, my children found a stray dog that was damn near hit by a car on Cortland. I live over there on Dead Man's Curve over there near Dwight Hawkins. The dog almost ate it. My kids found the dog. On 4/26, we waited. We put out several posts on social media trying to find the dog, because this happened once before, and we found that dog's owner almost immediately. Now, 4/27, we still haven't had the dog. We still haven't found who this dog belongs to. So on 4/27 at 9 o'clock in the morning, I called Animal Control to inquire about the proper course of action concerning this dog. The lady on the phone told me what to do, and she said that being as it was a non-nuisance dog, that they were going to have the dog picked up late in the afternoon. I told the lady on the phone, please do that, because I don't get off work till around that time anyways, that my kids were going to be home. What happens? The same day, an hour and a half later, on 4/27, Animal Control arrives to my house, and they talk to my kids. They didn't talk to an adult. My kids inquired about the process and said that the dog had to be scanned, make sure there was no chip. If there was a chip, the dog would have to be brought home. Scanned, no chip, no collar, no nothing on the dog. Then my kids, unbeknownst to me, said that they had a friend that wanted to take the dog. The animal control officer never removed the dog from my house, never. Left the dog there. So now, I called the kids, want to know about what's going on. They said, oh, he was here, but he didn't take the dog. The very next day, the animal control officer arrives back to my house, unannounced, and then knocks on the door and starts yelling at my kids, where is the dog? The dog is not there, they explained. And then my middle daughter says, well, if you hold on a minute, I'll get the lady's information that has the dog. Then he proceeds to start yelling at my other daughter, saying that you can't do this, it's illegal to rehome a dog, you can't do this, are you the only one home? All this, just yelling at my kids. Then when my middle daughter comes back out of the house, she asked him, well, if it wasn't a problem yesterday when you leaving the dog, why is it a problem now? Then the animal control officer decides to tell my daughter, if you interrupt me one more time, I'm going to write you up and give you a ticket. With this, my daughter asked, sir, how can you write children tickets? How old are you? 16. What's your dad's name and number? Gave him my name and number again. The man still didn't call me. So what does he do next? He contacts the lady that has the dog, and on his own personal phone, doesn't use the city phone, his own personal phone, she doesn't answer the phone because she doesn't know the number. Then the animal control officer texts her, I'm with animal control, I need to talk to you. Talks to her, never made contact with the woman, with her. Okay? Then, the same day all this happens, all of my information is out on social media. Do you know why? I met with Mr. Peters. I met with the director of HR. Mr. Peters informs me that somebody in City Hall gave all my information over the phone to somebody on social media. Now, I want to know what the hell is going on. I've been an active member in this community ever since I got here. I sit on 2 boards with this city. I need to know where I stand. The buck stops with y'all. I've had conversations with you guys, and you guys say, oh, well, this has been happening for months now. This has been happening for years now. It's
Thank you, sir.
It's up to you to change it.
Thank you, sir.
Tammy, please.
This is public comment. This is your, Mr. Bellich? Mr. Bellich, this is your first warning. One more outburst, I'm going to have you removed. Mr. Bellich, please remove him. I cannot hear what he's yelling. I've asked again and again. You were here for your public comment. I'm sorry, ma'am.
No, you're fine. Hi. Okay. First off, I'm going to give 2 positive comments. I want to comment on Patty Mullins with Animal Control. She was wonderful. I had contact with her. And Caitlin Foster. Those 2 employees are what this city should be. They are fantastic. And everybody should model after those 2 employees. Now, the second thing I'm going to talk about is not so positive. While attending a meeting here at City Hall, coming through that metal detector, as you probably noticed, I can't walk very well. I have a broken leg. I had nothing on me except a t-shirt and a pair of leggings. It's very obvious I have a broken leg. The deputy that was out there put his hands on me, put his hands between my legs, and I have a history of trauma. That metal detector needs to go because you don't know how many people may have the same history I have that are walking through that door. Nobody but my husband, no man should ever be putting their hands on me or any woman or any man. It was very traumatic. Not only that, it was painful. I just have no words of what happened. But it's time for that metal detector to go. I just don't know what else to say. I go to the courthouse. I'm a guardian ad litem. I have never been touched going through the metal detector. It's just unacceptable. And I would rather sit in a room and sit, I know for a fact that there are concealed carry people up there. Sit in a room with people that are concealed carry members. If somebody came in with a gun, then I would have to go through what I went through. It's unacceptable. I just want you to think about it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Resident 1776, please.
And yes, that was a very traumatic thing for her. I had to deal with for, probably the first 10, 15 years of our marriage, her getting over what happened to her as a child. And to have that son of a bitch touch her the way he did, and because of his badge and his gun, I couldn't do a damn thing about it, and neither could she. I want you to think about that. Think about your mother or your sister. Now, moving on. I'm going to start out by saying the words, which I know you won't understand, neither will your idiot over here. Without prejudice, UCC 308. And I'm going to read Article 1, Section 1 of the Florida Constitution. All political power is inherent in the people. The enunciation herein of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or impair others retained by the people. Section 4. Every person may speak, write, and publish sentiment on all subjects, but shall be responsible for the abuse of that right. No law shall be passed to restrain or abridge the liberty of speech or of the press. Section 5, right to assembly. The people shall have the right peaceably to assemble, to instruct their representatives, and to petition for redress of grievance. So, I went to the strategic planning meetings, and I was here on Saturday, and you guys talked about, actually, I'm going to direct this at you, Ms. Vasquez, because you asked the question. If somebody asks, if they direct something at me, can I answer them? And you were told no. Well, I just read you your constitutional rights. You absolutely can. You can't contract that away simply because you guys decided we're all going to adopt Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Procedure. You're not a parliament, for starters. So yes, you absolutely have the constitutional right that you can speak to me if you like. Or I can address you directly. Now, when I asked Mr. Peters, I loved his answer. His first answer was, and I quote, when you cast your vote for a candidate, and if that candidate is elected, I am now bound to the rules that he has to follow up there because I voted for him. Article 1, Section 4 of our Constitution, I can't find that anywhere. And I asked him to please specify he can't do it. So then he sends me over to Marcia, to the city attorney, who I tried to ask her, by what authority do I have to address the mayor, the chair? Well, since I put out a video where I actually caught her lying, she didn't like that and she didn't want to talk to me. So again, I went back to Mr. Peters and I asked the question via text, and he came back and he said, you're bound by those case law. I said, what case law? I said, I've got case law, Lozman versus Riviera Beach. I've got case law. He's got no case law. So I want you guys to understand up there that A, I am not bound by your rules. I don't sit up there. If I decided to run for office and I want a seat up there, I would not, that's the first thing I would do is say, I'm not contracting to these rules. I don't have to. You're not bound by them either. And lastly, I want to say, Mr. Ramos, you talked about needing to pay more attention. You did great tonight, but in the past, you've been one of the worst offenders.
Thank you. Urelis Navas, please.
Good night, everybody. On May 2nd of 2021, I sent an email to the commission, to Mr. Peters, to Mr. John O'Brady, to anybody that I can tag on. And there I requested a Title II grievancy. And today I was looking on the back there to see what is the rules on how do we handle the Title II, and I asked Ms. Elizabeth, and it's nothing there's back there. So it makes me feel that people that needs accommodation, the special needs people, are not counted by no means. Prior to this email, I said many times over the course of the emails back and forth with the commission, with Mr. Peters, that I needed accommodations for my family for the parking. The city has this, and I don't know if any of you guys know, but it's in here, and it's, let me read the entire name of that. City of Deltona ADA Transition Plan, which was effective on August 2012. So anybody sitting in there should know about this and the way that it should be handled. Any case that coming from you or any email that is requesting an accommodation. Mr. Peter, and I'm sorry, decided to say, oh, I'm gonna give you a few days, but I need to talk to your landlord. This was not an issue with my landlord. This is an issue with my family. And I said it many times, over and over through the emails. This is an issue that affects my family. I can move in Deltona to District 1, to District 6, to District 3, to District 2, to District 5. It doesn't matter. It's something that it matters to my family. It's an accommodation to my family-specific needs. My husband and my daughter were in Massachusetts for the weekend. We still have 4 cars parked in my house. We have his truck, my car, the nurse's car, the second nurse car, and the lady that lives with me car. So there were 5 cars, actually. 4 at one time, 5 another time. If I have my grandparents visiting, there's 6 cars. If I have whatever. So the issue with the mulch, it goes back to the cats, that they go and do their business in there. I said it over and over. It's creating another issue. Heidi, when you go and decide to drive around, you can drive around my house. You will see the cats. So please do so. And you can see the house in front of me that have all the roof is falling apart, and that's where the cats are. And you can see it from the street. Dandelion and Sacramento, right there. So this, and here, Mr. Peters, there's a form that I should have been given to, I can bring all the paperwork from the doctors. Everything, I have books, they're this big, from 2004 to now, color coordinated with all the doctors, all the appointments that my son has been. I'm very organized. So this should have been given to me when I first said, I need an accommodation. So I think we need somebody.
Thank you. Albert Bryant, please.
Thank you.
Albert Bryan, Deltona. You know, it's funny. Saw something this week on Facebook, of all places, that a certain area in Daytona Beach needs a road cleaned up. And it kind of reminded me of Deltona. And the mayor and other people have talked about us needing roads cleaned up. So, you know, I was kind of curious, so I went on to VolusiaCounty.org and looked up the roads that you can adopt. Let's see here. Port Orange, DeBerry, DeLand, New Smyrna Beach, Pearson, Osteen. Oh, no Deltona. Deltona is one of the largest cities in Volusia County, population-wise. Miles-wise, city road miles-wise. We got more roads in Deltona than most of the cities in Volusia County. and yet we're not on the adopted list. Now, I asked somebody about this, and he said, you know, the reason being because we don't have any big businesses in Deltona. I got thinking about that. And y'all push, and even those businesses push, that Halifax. Matter of fact, we got some big butt signs out there that says Halifax. I mean, they're really big. And yet, you know, Halifax can't adopt, let's say, the interchange up there where they're at. Really? That's how much they care about our city? Really? Oh, that's right. We got Advent too. They got another big butt sign out there. Do they adopt a road? No, that's right. They don't give a shit either. Now let's think about this. Oh, down on the other end, we got Walmart. Does Walmart adopt a road? Oh, no, that's right, because they don't care. They just want our money. Now, let's think about this a little bit more. We got Publix. That's right, we got Publix. Have they adopted a road? No, they haven't adopted a road either. You want to know what's really funny, though? I got a little rinky-dink dentist over by my house. A little dentist. He adopted a road in Deltona. It's amazing. But Halifax, who's got these big signs, doesn't care about our city. They only care about our money, don't they? That's what it boils to. And yet they're nonprofit, aren't they? And yet their CEO makes probably more than everybody in this room. And yet they're nonprofit. Wonder how that works. That's the biggest lie that's ever been made about a hospital, is that they're nonprofit. Now, one other thing. There was something that was said this weekend about the center. And this has been hashed and rehashed and rehashed and hashed and hashed and rehashed. Is it a community center? Oh, no, that's right. It's an event center. No. It's a community center. No. You can only change things so many times before you make yourselves look like fools. Let's think about this for a little while. Listen to the residents for once in your lifetime, just once. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Mayor, this ends public comment.
Thank you.
Brandy White, Deltona. I wanted to start out with the metal detector issue, because budget season and all. Does anybody know how much we're spending on all this extra stuff? I know we looked at it before. I think, Mr. King, you looked into this before. Do we have a figure on that? Nobody. Okay. And I believe we've also asked before, has anything been deterred in all the time that we've been using these, other than, I believe, one tiny pocket knife? No? Okay, just checking. So, moving on, I am once again not surprised that you guys were sitting up here questioning legal issues while you're sitting there saying nothing. I'm assuming you have to directly ask for something for $400,000 a year. I'm not sure, but when I see people arguing about legal issues and I'm the attorney, I would think I'd be like, I can answer that for you. I'm your attorney for $400,000 a year. And this magistrate wasn't just brought up today, this magistrate issue. So again, why hasn't that been addressed and looked at, Mr. Attorney? Why do you not know if there's a legal issue here regarding the magistrate who is not re-upped every year? I mean, I know I can do the search online and see this been brought up at many meetings. Still nothing. Crickets. So back to what really burned my biscuits today, which was that firefighter agreement here. And I'm going to say it again, health-related and all. He was healthy enough to work. He was healthy enough to work without his certification. It's what got him fired. Certifications don't end overnight. You are well aware when they're coming up for renewal. Considering he wasn't here his first year, he knows every year when his renewal is. So again, why are you spending my money wastefully? Constant wasteful spending, but now when one of us needs something, you're gonna tell us to tighten our belts, right? Got it.
Madam Mayor, this ends public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 10, comments on consent agenda items. Are any public comment on consent agenda?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, then we'll move on to consent agenda. The consent agenda has multiple items this evening. 11A, request for approval of fiber optic cable expansion to Fire Logistics and Firefighters Memorial Park. Request for approval to piggyback agreement with LifeScan Wellness Centers for annual physicals. Request for approval to piggyback on the Toho Water District's contract with USSI LLC of Venice, Florida to provide an inflow and infiltration I&I study of the gravity sewer collection system as outlined in the contract. Item D, request for approval of the agreement with the Volusia County Property Appraiser for utilization of the uniform method of collection of the non-ad valorem assessments. The implementation of Amendment 10 has made the property appraiser and the tax collector constitutional officers, necessitating the revision of the non-ad valorem assessment, the NAVA. Item E, request for approval to award bid number PW 2021-04, lawn and landscaping services to Brightview Landscape to provide citywide lawn and landscaping services for the various stormwater, water, and wastewater plants and parks and recreation locations. Item F, request for the approval of the task authorization with Mead & Hunt Incorporated for the engineering, design, and permitting for the replacement of the stormwater pump adjacent to Fort Smith Boulevard as outlined in the contract. We need a motion on consent agenda. Commissioners? Or not?
Madam Mayor, I make a motion to accept all the items on the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Properly moved by Vice Mayor Bradford for consent agenda items A through F, seconded by Commissioner Ramos. May we vote, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King? Yes. Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, passes. Motion passes 6-0. Next item, City Commission special reports and requests.
Madam Mayor, I
Any?
have one. I lost my place, but I definitely have one.
No commission comments? Yes, ma'am?
I lost my spot, I'm sorry. A couple things. I'm just checking in if we're getting to the point of fireworks and wanted to follow through to see if this was something that, you know, we felt comfortable going forward with, was doing the fireworks this year. Has that been discussed, Mr. Peters?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Reckley and the Parks and Rec Department is putting together a 4th of July fireworks display. It is below $25,000, which is within my authority, and we have signed off on it. So the plan is to have a 4th of July celebration here in Deltona.
Okay. Do we have a date on that?
You had to ask me that.
Well,
I will
'cause
send an email out. I'm assuming it's July 4th, but I will confirm that.
Okay. Well, the reason I ask is because we've went that route before and went on either the 3rd or the 5th, and we end up having twice as many fireworks on 2 and 3 nights just because people are in the meantime. I'd also like to bring up a couple things that were brought up tonight, and just to, since it is a direction item, of making sure that what happened to an individual going through the metal detectors, make sure that we have clear policies and procedures as if somebody is unclear whether or not they need to be searched. I know when it comes to, I'll use the airport for example, if a female needs searched, they have a female officer there to search it. If it's a male, they have a male there to search it. They do that for a reason, and it's a liability reason. And if there's a wand available, then that's generally used. So obviously, I'm not sure why it happened, but personally, I want to make sure this never, ever happens to anyone, male or female, again. And let's make sure that we have some clear policies in place to make sure that that's not going to happen. So I don't know if I need census on that or what we need to move forward with that, but if somebody needs searched that's female, then a female needs to be there, and we need to come up with a pretty clear-cut policy on that if we're going to continue to have those.
We all have been notified of the incident prior to tonight. I have turned it over to Captain Marino with the Sheriff Department for an investigation and appropriate actions with regard to that event, and we will discuss alternative means for the future.
Okay, so I want to make sure it's not going to happen again. And then Mr. Petoskey's incident that he spoke of, has that incident been addressed, and what are we going to do to avoid that happening again in the future?
Okay.
Has that been addressed, Mr. Peters?
Mr. Petoskey's event with animal control and releasing his personal information to a stranger, has that been addressed, and how are we going to keep that from happening again?
With regard to out front, I have not heard back from Captain Marino yet.
No.
The dog, Mr. Putkowski, the dog issue.
Mr. Petoskey, where the animal control came and never picked up the dog, nor...
Yes, I met with Mr. Petoskey and his daughter, along with Mr. O'Grady. We listened to the entire discussion. He was demanding that we fire certain employees. He is a local government employee himself. I reminded him that in local government we have policies and procedures on how we handle personnel matters, that it would be investigated, appropriate action will be taken. But based on what he told us, it was not a terminable offense. I left the meeting believing he understood that. We have been through that process internally. Mr. O'Grady and the supervisory staff and code enforcement handled it. So I was surprised when we received the series, when you all received the series of emails, and then equally surprised that he came tonight. The only thing I can ascertain is from my discussion, he was extremely upset about the personal information getting out. There was a social media debate on Facebook. A resident called in with specifics about the case, wanted to know what was in the files, which is typically a public record. Unfortunately, what they should have been told is they make a records request so that the record could be redacted as appropriate. That was not done, so we're taking appropriate disciplinary action. As to terminating somebody over this, it would not be possible. In fact, his daughter said that she told her mother not to go on Facebook about the matter, that it would escalate, which it did. So this is a situation, personally, I believe, where social media can get out of hand. I think some people are well-meaning, some people are not. But the truth of the matter is, but for the Facebook discussion over the matter, we would not be having this conversation, I don't believe, other than dealing with the code officer, which, as I said, have been handled. So I'm at a loss as to what he's looking for at this point. As I said, he was looking for somebody to be terminated, which we can't do. This is a personnel matter. It has been dealt with. And he, of all people, working in a local government environment, understands that employees have due process rights. You can't just terminate somebody because you didn't like the way they handled something. You have to do it according to personnel policy.
And I'm not asking for termination. I'm a staff member. What I'm asking about is one, the procedure of the animal control. I want to make sure that, that doesn't happen again, because that does seem to me if there's an animal that was done, then I would think that we need to make sure that's a clear-cut policy. The number one, the biggest concern of all of it I have is a staff member releasing somebody's information, and I believe in what you just said is that you are addressing personal information being released and how a records request is to be handled. So those were my two biggest concerns, not trying to interfere with you at all and say, hey, this is what I expect. I just want to make sure that for future reference, we address the issue of what happens when we get that animal control call. Do we remove the animal? What happens when somebody's calling, throwing a fit, and they want another person's, information? I mean, we all know that Facebook can be very abusing. You're going to have people out there that are going to beat you up. No matter what you say, do, you can't control it, you can't stop it. I get that, but feeding fuel to the fire does make it a little hard. So I do understand, him being upset about that. I'm just trying to make sure that we've gone through everything to make sure that these don't happen again. So I do appreciate you updating us on that. And I believe it has come up again, and it came up before about Adopt a Road. I think that is a good alternative to trying to keep us clean a little bit, not just small, like big companies, small companies, medium-sized companies, if the price is right, I'm sure there's a lot of companies out there that would do it. And, what do we have to do to get on that list to be on the Adopt a Road, especially since we've all been up here talking about blight and cleaning up and all that. So I would like to see what we have to do to get on that database so Deltona's on that for Adopt a Road as well. Thank you.
Commissioner Sosa?
Okay. Same thing with Mr. Potowski. I think that was answered already through Commissioner Bradford. Ms. Tammy, I do apologize for what happened to you trying to get to one of our meetings. We have a thing. We want to get people out to these commission meetings. We want people to come out to our strategic planning meetings. We want people to come out to our town hall type code enforcement and TNR meetings. And, whenever somebody comes into this building, whether it's this building, the center, they have to be patted down or they have to walk through a metal detector. To me, if I was a resident, that is a major turnoff. I know I've talked to Mr. Peters about this a few times already since I was, elected, and I think it's time for the metal detector to go. And therefore, right now, I'd like to make a motion that effective immediately that the metal detector be taken away.
Commissioners, you have a motion on the floor to remove the metal detectors, and you have a second. This has not been noticed properly on an agenda. A, you're entitled to make your motion in your second, but...
Well, let me amend that then. I'd like to make a motion to have this put on the next agenda to have the metal detector removed. Commissioner King, is that acceptable?
Unless you want to vote on it right now, you can vote on your original motion. It's whatever you want to do.
Well, we'll wait. We'll give everybody notice, and that way they can come and discuss it if they would like. But I would like to have the discussion and on the next agenda to have the metal detector removed.
Commissioners, yes, ma'am?
May we get a report from VCSO on if there's been any items or if they've had any removal of weapons during the time that we've had this, Mr. Peters? I don't know if they can get us any information or any reports. I mean, do they, obviously they would, if they've taken weapons away or done that, I would think that they would have had to have documented it.
Commissioner Bradford, before we go on, there needs to be consensus to put this on the next commission agenda.
Yes, Mayor.
So I think you can ask all the questions that you want, but right now we need to have consensus. Whether somebody's phone? Is that Brandy? She was the last one up there. Okay, so there needs to be consensus from the commission whether or not to put this on the next agenda. So that's the first step if you want to have it as a voting item, as a discussion item. If any of you want to weigh in on that. I will state my comment on that. The reason that the scanners were put in place was the contentious meetings and the information that multiple people received that there were weapons in the audience, that people were coming in here with concealed weapons. The state of Florida, as you know, has a very, very open version and view on weapons, on guns, and on weapons in general. The one thing the state of Florida says by law is that you are not allowed to have a weapon in a public meeting. If it's a school board meeting, if it's a commission meeting, it's a P&Z meeting, that is the one thing this state, which is very open and free with everything else concerning especially guns, says. That means those of us up here shouldn't, and those in the audience, anybody that comes into a public meeting is not allowed by the state of Florida to have a weapon, concealed, otherwise, whatever. So the history of why those scanners were put in place is because of what happened several years ago. And if any of you saw the article in the News Journal last Sunday, a week ago, talking about public meetings, once again, the city of Deltona was named. If you want to go see a contentious meeting, go to Deltona. Every week, every time they have a meeting, there's a contentious meeting. We made the paper again for that. So there was a reason that those scanners were put there, and it is extremely unfortunate. And the person that came up here and spoke, and I'm not going to mention any names or anything, that she knows that I addressed her issue, sent that immediately to Mr. Peters and requested that Captain Marino look into what happened. Because Vice Mayor, you're correct. It needs to be a wand or anything else like that. It should never have happened to that degree at all. Should never have happened at all. So once again, that comes down to a policy. And we have to see what the policy for the Sheriff's Department is, and if it's not adequate, then it needs to be changed for the city of Deltona. And that is not only qualifying for that, but the previous issue regarding the dog and so forth, and the public records giving information over the phone is also a policy issue, and it's a training issue. And it's our employees need to have the proper training to address all these situations, because more and more you're going to have situations that come up that that our employees are not trained for, not to their fault, because in the past years, we've eliminated all the training. We haven't provided training for staff. So that is my view on the scanners. I'm extremely apologetic as to what happened. We need to get to the bottom of it. It should never happen again. It should not have happened. However, there was a reason that those were put there, so.
Well, just, that reason happened a couple of years ago, and you're right, it was because there was a certain city manager, and that's what brought those scanners. Let's be real. We had a city manager that had 8 counts of voter fraud that the commission refused to get rid of. You had an irate public, and that's why the scanners are there. Let's just put it out there. That's what it is. We no longer have that city manager. Honestly, tonight is probably the first night I've seen more than 4 people in the audience. Okay? That metal detector does not need to be there. Period. I go to the county meetings. I don't have to walk through a metal detector. I don't get frisked. I don't get wand down. I walk right in, I grab a chair, and that's at the county meeting. I go to other commission meetings around the area. I don't have to walk through a metal detector. Deltona is the only one I have to do it at.
This is the only city.
This is the only city
that has a metal detector.
And I'll be honest with you, that is the biggest deterrent out there to bring residents in.
That's right.
We say we want to have, community involvement, but yet we're going to make you walk through a metal detector. We're going to open your purse. We're going to frisk you. I mean, if we're afraid to be up here, then maybe we shouldn't be here.
That's right. Resign.
And I will respectfully disagree with you, but I will let Commissioner Ramos speak since he's on the board.
Madam Mayor.
Mike.
Madam Mayor, for purposes of, I think instead of having this discussion now, let's just see if we have consents in order to bring this up to agenda, to have these conversations, and maybe not just have an informative conversation, and I know Vice Mayor asked for certain records, and I think even those records could be misleading, because just the fact that they're there and people know that they're there, a lot of things won't be coming in through here. But for purposes of discussion, I said, let's see if we have an agreement so we can move this forward.
Okay, please call the roll for consensus for putting this on as an agenda item to eliminate the scanners.
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford? Yes. And Mayor Hersberg?
Yes. Okay, you have consensus. Please bring this forward at the next possible commission meeting where you have room on the agenda. If it's the next one,
Actually, I
fine.
prefer the
Madam
next
Mayor,
one.
Yes.
If I can ask for some clarification, are you looking for staff to make a recommendation in that report, or is this just going to be a discussion item?
I think that it's going to be more than a discussion item. I think that there are commissioners that have publicly stated they want them gone. So this will be a vote item, and staff needs to bring forth what the vice mayor asked. And also, it's got to be an open discussion in terms of, like what Commissioner Ramos said, is it a preventative or is it not a preventative?
Okay, so what I will do is I will provide you a report that has the options of keeping it, the option of removing it, and maybe a third option is something in between, and with no recommendation, because it really is a decision of the commission.
Exactly. Okay, no more commission special reports and requests. City Attorney, any comments? City Manager?
Yes, ma'am, I have an item. As you are aware, we haven't been served as of yet with regard to the 189 lot subdivision in the Osteen area, but we have received advance words and we've seen copies of a lawsuit. I made reference to it earlier with regards to the moratorium discussion, but I would like for the commission to authorize it to have the finance department set aside $200,000 from our unrestricted reserves into an account for this litigation so that we have it properly funded.
Do you need that in form of a motion, or do you need consensus for that?
I would prefer a motion.
Okay, does anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Was that you, Commissioner King? Okay, Commissioner King made motion by Commissioner King, seconded by Vice Mayor Bradford, for setting aside $200,000 for litigation for the potential lawsuit, Hickory Oaks. Correct, sir? Okay, may we vote, please?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Actually, can we
Oh, I'm
question
sorry.
this?
Yes, sir.
My personal opinion, the residents that didn't want this, and I don't think one single penny of taxpayer funds should go to a lawsuit that the residents didn't want in the first place. I mean, I think we have, a couple other options. Either our attorney can do it for free or part of his payment already. 2, we can have the developer, he can pay the fees. 3, start a GoFundMe like the folks from Osteen did. But I don't think one penny of taxpayer funds should go to fight this legal action.
So Commissioner, how would you address that when everybody else, when you have other lawsuits that come forth to the commission? Are we supposed to do a GoFundMe for someone that slips and falls? Are we supposed to do a GoFundMe?
Well, we have
with something
insurance
like
for
this?
that, and apparently our insurance company does not handle this type of litigation.
They do not. It is a zoning matter. They do not handle that.
But they do handle slip and falls.
That's liability. This is
Okay.
not liability. This commission voted, and certain members of the public decided that they didn't like that vote and they want to challenge it, which is absolutely their right to do. But understand, in a government, there are certain things that are not covered by this certain types of litigation are not covered. This is one of them. Skip, you care to weigh in at all?
Well, you're right, of course, Mayor. In this particular situation, and I've already talked to the attorneys for the property owner who achieved the zoning that is in question, and they have hired an attorney whom I know and will probably speak to later this week. I expect them to carry the bulk of the burden. Now, we'll keep an eye on them for obvious reasons, but that will cost a few dollars. I doubt if we'll get, unless we get to the Supreme Court, near $200,000.
Vice Mayor?
I want to remind all of us up here that we have a right to protect not 100 people, but the 89,000 people that a lawsuit could impact. So it is in our best interest to do what we have to do to defend the city, even though you cannot put your emotions into this at this time. You have to think about what is best for the complete 90,000 residents, not just a few. And I understand that, it's not what you want to hear, but a lawsuit facing the city, we have to do what we have to do to defend it. So you'd rather have a huge lawsuit on the city than to do what we have to do to defend it and not have more than $200,000 paid out.
Mayor, can we call the question, please?
I don't think we should have a lawsuit at all. I mean, we could just let this die.
We can't just let a lawsuit lie.
Was that a motion, Commissioner?
So, I mean, we have a motion, correct?
What was the question?
Joyce, clarify, please.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I believe we do have a motion and a second. I just want clarification from Commissioner Maritza if her point of order is a motion to call the question.
I'm trying to say that, yes. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we have to vote on calling the question, and then you call the question, because that's the proper way to do it. So, Commissioner, would you like to make a motion to call the question? That's the proper way. You make a motion to call the question, you get a second, you vote on it, and then correct. Am I correct?
Yes.
Did she make a motion to call the question?
Yes, and I second.
Okay, so we need a vote on calling the question.
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 6-0 to call the question. Ma'am? So you're making a motion, you made a motion to call the question, and now we're going to do that. And the question, please reread the motion, Joyce.
The motion is to set aside $200,000 unrestricted from the unrestricted reserve for litigation for potential lawsuit.
Okay, may we vote, please?
Do we have to go to public comment?
Commissioner Vila Vasquez?
Yes.
Commissioner King?
Yes.
Commissioner Ramos?
Yes.
Commissioner Sosa?
No.
Vice Mayor Bradford?
Yes.
Mayor Hersberg?
Yes, motion passes 5-1. City Manager, any more comments?
Just a comment that I was fortunate I fell on my head when I fell earlier. I hope I didn't break the concrete.
The bigger question is, did you break your head? Are you okay? Okay, City Commission comments. Let's start with Commissioner King today. If you don't want to go, you can pass it.
Just two things I want to remind the public of. We're coming up on Memorial Day. On the 28th and 29th, the American Legion Auxiliary will be distributing poppies at Winn-Dixie Shopping Plaza, at Providence and Normandy. And then usually in years past, not counting this past year, there's been a large Memorial Day ceremony at the Deltona Memorial Gardens. That is not going to happen this year, but VSEP and the American Legion here in Deltona will be doing a Memorial Day ceremony on Memorial Day, May 31st at 1 p.m. in the afternoon at the Veterans Memorial Park and Museum. So if anybody in the community is interested in coming out, please do so. 1 o'clock on May 31st at the Deltona Veterans Memorial Park.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Ramos?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Vasquez?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Sosa?
I'm good for tonight.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'm going to end on a positive. There was actually the Cambridge at Institute competition kind of going, it's not really competition, going on at Deltona High today. And I will have to say, we have some really bright students. We went through and they picked a subject out, they talked about the subject, they did the research, they presented it, you know, and you stand back and you look at these kids, and these were just basically all grades, and the level that they were speaking and the research that they were speaking, it's very encouraging to see how much they delve into this business class. So, you know, I just wanted to end on a positive, you know, walking through. I don't know if anybody else got an opportunity to go through it today, but the projects they put together were really, really awesome, and I'm excited for it. You know, we've got graduations coming up. I want to remind everybody, traffic, let's be safe. You know, we're going to have a lot more kids. You know, they're doing their celebrations in that. We've got holidays coming up. So I'm encouraging everybody to be extra safe and cautious on the roads at this time. And, you know, with that, that's it.
Okay, great. I have no comments this evening, and we are adjourned.